5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
And welcome, everybody, to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. If you are new to the show, thank you for joining us. If you have been following us for a while, thank you for your listenership as well. Truth, Beer, and Podsequences is the podcast where myself and my co-host listen to all of the Cincinnati craft beer podcasts, and then we come together and tell our version of the truth. And hopefully there aren't too many consequences from the hosts of the other shows. So far, so good. I want to, at this time, introduce that co-host that I was speaking about.
I am Julia, and you may know me from some of the Facebook beer communities for writing funny parodies about the beer vent season beers. I am sad that beer vent's over. It is my favorite season of the entire year. But I now have a fridge full of absolutely amazing beer since I did have 3 beer vent calendars to get through this year. And I'm loving it. You
did a great job. Those posts on Facebook were fantastic. And I'm sorry I failed to mention, my name is Marco. I'm a brewer in the Cincinnati craft beer scene. Big shout out this New Year's Eve podcast. So as we record, this episode is going to come out on New Year's Eve. That's so right. Happy New Year to everyone. And in whatever way you're going to celebrate, whether it's just go to bed and wake up the next day, or whether you get together with friends and family and have a blast, whatever it is. Happy New Year to you. Shout out to BC's Bottlage Montgomery, our wonderful podcast host, where you can get a slow pour Pilsner, and the smell in here is just, it's something.
The freshest. The freshest, the cleanest. The Cintas guy, he knows where it's at. He knows what is going on each and every week, multiple times a week, I'm sure. I'm sure that it's not just Tuesday pre-recording that he's in here. There's no way.
I can't imagine you could get this done without multiples.
No. So, looking around here, there are 4 glasses of beer on the table, which means is this the 3rd episode in December in a row?
Yes.
That we have had guests?
Yes, we have very special guests, and it was loosely planned in the sense of we knew that as the podcast year or the calendar year was winding down to wind back up again, that some of the shows maybe were going to miss a few episodes. We thought this would be a great time for some guests, so we had a list of guests that we wanted to talk to, and very thankfully, those guests were able to make it and talk with us. Yeah. So first-time guests introduce themselves. I am going to point to a guest, and they will introduce themselves.
Well, you're pointing at me.
Yes, we are.
Right,
well, he is. I'm not doing any pointing.
I did that because he was the last to arrive. The last to arrive introduces themselves first.
Yes.
Well, my name is Mark Miller, and I'm with Brews Travelers Outcast Podcast.
Excellent.
And Quick Trip, otherwise known as. And I also work for Adina, in beer distribution.
Fantastic distributor. Thanks for being here.
Awesome.
And who do we have on the opposite side of the table?
My name is Matt Damaris. I'm also a co-host on the Brews Travelers Outcast podcast. I go by the Cincy Brews Traveler. I also host the Hustle and Brews podcast.
And both of those podcasts were part of the Fretboard live podcast series that they were doing on Mondays for a while. Marco and I were at both of those and had an absolute blast watching you guys and being part of the shows.
Fantastic. I got to say something. If this is going to be on New Year's Eve, I just want to say congratulations to the Bearcats on their big win today. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
By the time I'm listening to this, I'm going to be wasted.
What time is the game? I can plan.
It's at 2 p.m.
It's at 2? All right. Yeah. I was planning on dropping this episode early afternoonish to give people something to listen to while they waited for midnight to come. So, by the time this drops, the Bearcats will be holding up.
I love that.
We should all toast
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
They'll be ready for Indianapolis.
Toast not over the mixer, though.
Right.
Cheers.
Wow. Playing for the national championship. That's amazing.
Speaking of cheersing and glasses and beers and beer podcasts, we need to say what we're all drinking. So, Matt, would you like to start?
I'm drinking Fool's Gold by Rusty Rail. It's a peanut butter Hefeweizen.
Nice. I've had that before, and that is
I love
incredibly
it. It's
good.
one of my favorite ones. I just go for it. Mm-hmm. They've had it on Nitro here, he said, too. I've never had it on Nitro, so that was like a month and a half ago. I missed that.
I don't
miss that
remember if
train.
I had it during when it was on
I think
Nitro
you
or
did.
not. I think I want to
think
say
you
I
did.
did, but it's
I think I remember you talking about it on one of
that
your
was
podcasts.
many beers ago,
Yeah.
so it's a little.
We've had beers.
We've had beers. Mark, what's in your glass? You have a different shaped glass.
I am. Yes, I get the tulip. I'm so lucky. I'm drinking a Warped Wing Ohio Challenge, which is a chocolate brown ale at 7.5%.
I believe Gnome had that when he was on
I
the
think he
show a
did.
couple weeks ago.
Really nice.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
How is that? What do you give it?
I'm going for. I'll go 4 or 5 on it. The chocolate's
shit.
nice because it's
Oh, wow.
I'm
Out of
getting that
10?
next.
definitely tastes
Out
like
of
real
10.
chocolate, dark chocolate. Right.
What's the scale?
On the
We gotta-
untapped scale, the
Yes.
5 points.
How
the bottle caps.
Or we could even start going a little into Sonder stories. How many qualifiers are thrown into your
Yeah.
rating?
Well,
of
okay, so this is my favorite dark beer that's number 3 on the menu.
excellent. There
Excellent.
we go.
You know how to play this game.
There we go. Before we started recording, I had a Branch and Bone Crystal Shadows IPA, 7%. It was really, really good. But since then, Marco and I both decided to go back to, and I'll let you introduce.
Yeah, I
our
had the
current
same
beers.
thing. We have the Pilsner from Perennial. That's the slow poured pills that they're pouring here at BC's Bottle Lodge.
It is so good.
I
Yeah,
just
I'm
realized that they had that when I saw you here a couple days ago.
Yep,
You
just a
told me
couple
about
days
the
ago.
slow pour. So I only thought that was up in Liberty. Now it's down here. So
Yeah.
that's
I think
somewhat new.
I think they had it at Liberty first, and
Yeah,
then it was
They,
here.
they did. There's
did.
a, there's a
Yeah.
interesting story too. When they first got that, they didn't want to put on one of their really expensive beers because
can
it was new
understand
and they
that.
were.
Sure.
So they had an old keg of Coors Banquet in the back, and
you
they
put
put it
that
on
on?
there, and they said that was just the most amazingly delicious Coors Banquet they've ever drank in their entire life. That
I
slow
feel-
pour is amazing, though.
Oh, it's delicious.
It's great. I mean, I'm like a moth to a flame burned by the fire. I just gotta have it.
I like the Crystal Shadows too. I had that last week for the first time.
It's good.
Might be one of my favorite IPAs. Like Branch
just
and
a
Bone does not play around.
No, they don't. I need to get up there, and it's a solid IPA. There's nothing. And this might sound weird, but hopefully, as beer drinkers, you understand where I'm coming from with this. There's nothing special about it. It is just a solid
yeah.
IPA, one that doesn't need a whole bunch of added flavors and 37 types of hops.
Yeah.
It's just a good damn beer.
It's smooth too.
yeah.
It's refreshing. Actually, it's a way to cleanse all of that adjunct out and just have beer.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So, to talk about what Marco talks about in our intro, it's a podcast about podcasts. There were actually 3 podcasts that we were able to cover this week. Were either of you able to listen to any podcasts? Specifically beer related or Cincinnati craft beer related?
I did listen to ours.
Okay.
And
that's
I
good.
did listen to Sonder stories. I
right.
was unable to get to the first one.
Okay.
But
Not a problem. Not a problem.
I was catching up with Gnarly Gnomes this week too. I was just finishing up
Back
the
catalog.
Christmas one. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So
okay.
It takes me a while sometimes. man.
So you heard us on the
yeah.
the second of a twofer.
Yes, we were beers in by
We
that
had
point.
beers.
It was
Nice.
great. It was fun. John
Well-
and the Gnome. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's great. I know Julia and I, we talked about it. Julia and I listened to Craft Beer Pod. We listened to
Craft Parenting Pod.
Craft Parenting
They
Pod.
should be the Craft Beerenting Pod, as they have even said on their
Yes.
show before.
Craft Parenting Pod and Sonder Stories, and then your show, the Outcast Podcast. We will talk about Craft Parenting Pod.
Yeah, you had it right. You were good.
Yeah, got me a little scared here. So we'll talk about Craft Parenting Pod. We may have a little bit of fun to put in there
Yes.
to get you involved, because I know you
Yes.
didn't listen, and we didn't ask you to because of the hectic, Christmas leading up to Christmas and all this other stuff, and the way that we approach it, at least myself, not we, the way I approach it is, I know typically when some of these shows come out, but with the holidays, they're a little bit
Sure.
weird. So I would just go and refresh my apps, and I even downloaded another app to make sure that the one wasn't missing something. And so by the time I communicated with you guys about what to listen to, I
It was
just
like the day
"Dude,
before, and we're like, just do these.
just do these so we can talk about those.
Yes. But we did definitely want to touch on Craft Parenting Podcast. It was episode 41 where they talked with two of their friends, Brian and Graham, who have been on their show before.
Seem like fun people.
Oh my God, yeah. They were talking about Christmas beers. Now, I will say the episode was titled Christmas Beers. More of the conversation, though, was not necessarily about Christmas beers, but about Graham and Brian's Christmas parties, which we need an invite to somehow.
Yeah, and by we, everyone at this table.
Yes, 100%.
Everyone.
100%.
Yeah.
So they were talking about, and what we're going to do to try to get you guys involved a little bit with this is because, as you know, our podcast is 100% factual. Everything is
I believe everything I've ever heard on this.
To what they've said on the show.
Yeah.
So we may ask you guys some questions about, do you remember when Caroline said this or Brian said that?
I listened to the whole thing. I believe I said that earlier. Yeah.
Exactly. They had their friends Brian and Graham on the show who were part of the podcast before. They were going through Christmas beers that they had been drinking, that they were drinking while they were recording the show. I mean, again, Marco, you're so much better at the introductions. Do you want to say what the Craft Parenting Podcast setup is typically like for anyone who wants to start listening?
So what you have is Joe usually starts out, Joe Ludwig, and then he introduces his wife, Caroline.
Perfect.
And so they talk about
Caroline.
That's right. And they talk about the week preceding, because in podcast time they get together on Saturday night. The kids are in bed and they're going to get out and they're going to podcast. That's how they that's what they do. That's their thing. And so they talk about the previous week. Day by day, about whatever was in the crock pot, or they put in the oven, or reheated in the microwave, or whatever, or what they did. The
craft fairs that Caroline was part of.
Crafts, that she was doing, and then they get into what's bugging Caroline in children's television. And if you have children, we all know something is bugging you about children's television. And then from there, they go into what the show is about on that particular show session, that pod. This time it was Christmas. They said Christmas beers, and they had their friends on, which seemed God, I know we talked about it again, and we have this thing where I get it. We're not professionals, right? We're doing this for fun because we love it, but we repeat ourselves. And as stated before, they seem like a ton of fun.
Yes.
And one of these guests was Joe's friend from preschool. So, Bruce Traveler, Quick Trip, multiple choice out of 2. Julia, go ahead and list the 2 names, and then take both of their guesses.
Brian or Graham, who has been Joe's friend since preschool.
Oh, that was Graham.
I was going to say Brian. It was Brian.
Oh,
I know I heard it on there, and it was Graham.
It was Graham. Okay, and you're still sticking with Brian.
Yeah, I think.
Final answer.
I think he's wrong.
We need a drum roll. Shit.
That was our drum roll.
That was our drum roll because I know.
Hold on, give us another drum roll.
Hold on.
Shit.
Oh, that's a good one. That was from a couple weeks ago.
That was with Lee. Lee said that, and I'm like, it needs to be a button.
You even said that during the podcast.
And I made it happen.
All right, Julia, give us the answer.
Caroline. Caroline has been Joe's friend since preschool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
And you see,
Too bad.
and this is where people are going to go, okay, wait a minute, what? This is what we do on Truth, Beer, and Consequences. We want you to hear what we're saying and go, did that really happen? Is that really what's
Sure.
going on? And make you want to listen to these other shows, because when they're making content, that means we can make content.
Because that's not, it was Brian. So you have to listen now.
You really do.
Okay.
You really do.
Very good.
So I'm gonna
Go ahead, Julia. No, we're going to pick up. Julia has handwritten notes.
I do.
All of my notes are right in between
Yes.
the left and the right of these headphones.
So big old empty space for all of those
That's
that just
right.
bounce around. So they actually went through a lot of Christmas beers when they recorded this episode. So I am going to list most of them, and then do you guys want to go by your Outcast Podcast names or by your actual names? Like, I don't want to start
It's kind of refreshing to actually have a real name, but
Okay,
I'll
okay.
go with either. It doesn't matter.
Well, then Mark and Matt, I am
Sure.
going to list most of them, and then I want you to fill in the blanks for what you think the last 2 Christmas beers, and most of these, all of these actually are local beers. So I will have you fill in what you think the last 2 local Christmas beers are that they drank. They had probably everyone's favorite winter beer, Thunder Snow, from Mad Tree. They had Santa's Bribe from Taft's. They had Westside Brewing's Holiday Ale. Mark, do not look at my notes. I see you cheating. I'm moving my glass of Pilsner in front so you can't see that.
That was so worth a try. I got to get better at that.
They have Rheingeist Dad, Brink's Nightcap, one that's not local, Great Lakes Brewing Christmas Ale. And there are 2 other local Christmas beers that they had. Can you guess what the last 2 beers were that they drank?
I'd say Christmas Cookies by Narrow Path.
Ooh.
One of the 2 Christmas cookies.
Ooh.
One of the 2 Christmas cookies you said.
So there's 2. There's the Christmas Cookies brand, but then there's 2. What were they, Mark? There's like the one with the elf, and then I can't remember the names of them, and I've drank a ton of them.
Oh, and they're both delicious.
So a random Christmas cookie ale is your guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the names.
You can't use your phone. This is cheating.
No,
You
he's
need to-
looking for the name
Looking
of the
up
beer.
the specific name of the Narrow
he's
Path
not-
beer.
All right.
He's not-
Okay, that's fair.
Because if like
Okay,
Chad and Chuck are listening to this, they're gonna be like,
They're gonna
dude,
be
you
like-
pour these beers. Like, how the
right.
fuck do you not
Fired.
know the name?
Fired.
You're out.
That's all right. I'm looking for a job anyway, so when you fire him, guys,
Well,
just
they have the
keep in mind.
Christmas version of Partially Redacted.
Ooh,
am
that
I
would be
allowed to
great.
cuss on this podcast?
Of course.
Okay.
The hell you are.
All right,
Yeah,
because my
do it.
guess is going to be fucking Christmas ale.
That was so good. That was so good.
What a
From High Grain.
yes.
Migraine, yeah.
That was
All
a good one.
All right, so your final guess is
Your
Christmas
final
cookie,
answer.
and yours is
I'm going
fucking.
with fucking, yeah.
All right, all
Yeah,
right.
fucking Christmas.
So in order to find
Elf
out,
Magic is what it's called.
okay,
Elf Magic.
okay.
Oh,
Well,
that
I will
was
say,
not my nickname in high school.
but it should have been.
It
Wait,
was not my nickname in high
That's
school.
not what I heard.
Just saying.
so I will say that neither of you were completely correct. There were some crumbs of correctness in Matt's
cookie?
guess.
So what you're
So-
saying is we weren't completely wrong either.
This is correct.
See, I like that.
But to know what the other beers were, you're going to have to listen to the Craft Parenting Podcast
Nice.
and see what Joe, Caroline, Brian, and Graham talked about.
I could probably
just
use
to
some
kind of-
parenting advice anyway, so.
There you go.
Nah, man,
Right
you're a
up
great
around.
dad.
You both are, from what it looks like. Can't speak from experience. You haven't parented me at all, but I'm
Right, I haven't been parented by
By them.
either, but
Yeah.
I would assume great parents. Absolutely.
So just a kind of, and again, Joe and Caroline not meaning to kind of
Caroline.
not to kind of glance over the podcast. More of it was about the Christmas party than about beer.
But the party
The party sounds absolutely
freaking
amazing.
fantastic.
There was-
So
they
maybe we should work a
smoked-
deal with them. If
We
they
should.
invite us to the party next year, we'll talk more about the.
We will podcast live, both of us, both of our all 3 of our shows.
Killer
from
idea.
that. I don't know if that's more of Joe and Caroline's call or Brian and Graham's call, but we're going to say
So we
Joe
should
and
be-
Caroline make the call.
I think, friends helping to find friends.
Yes.
That's a great thing right there.
Yes.
We could do a beer share, a Christmas beer share at their
Absolutely.
Christmas party.
They can roast another pig. They roasted an entire pig
I'm
one of the
in.
years for this. Right, exactly. And I'm just like, excuse me? Hello?
Yeah.
I would like that.
They have the biggest Christmas tree that's not outdoors in Cincinnati.
In Cincinnati, yeah, they have like 37-foot ceilings, and the Christmas tree would not fit in without like bending over.
No
like,
shit.
bowing
It's
over.
amazing.
Ridiculous,
That's crazy.
ridiculous sized Christmas
Amazing.
tree.
This is their thing.
And yeah, it is. Their Christmas parties is 100% their thing. A couple of the other things to touch on real fast. We found out that St. Nick brings Brian and Graham booze, while St. Nick only brings Caroline and Joe T-shirts. So someone has not been very good throughout the year, and it's not Brian and Graham. And all geese are evil. I don't care if it's a farm goose, if it's a Canada goose. All geese are evil. Period.
Yeah.
Full stop. End of story.
I agree.
I don't
Yeah.
think that's new information. I think
No,
that's a
no.
commonly known fact.
Yeah, my
But
wife
it bears
Rachel.
repeat.
Shout out to my wife Rachel. She would completely agree.
Yeah.
Geese.
Yeah.
evil.
There's like them assholes in the city when you're driving through and they just walk across the street real slow.
Yep.
And stare at you.
Yeah, they
hate that
watch you.
shit.
They're like,
Stare
I
at
know.
you.
I actually had
know.
a car totaled when they were building Union Center. When that first opened up there, there was a
My
lot of geese, and all the geese. The
were
goose
you driving
walked
a
out.
go-kart?
Totaled your car?
Indirectly, the goose had a lot to do with it. Walked out with all its babies out in front of me. Me being the kind guy that I am, I decided to hit my brakes and not run over a family of geese.
No.
Not legally, you had to stop.
They are a migratory species, so those assholes are technically protected.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
So
you
finish
can't-
the story.
So I stop. The guy behind me doesn't. My car is totaled, but the geese were fine.
These are fine. Yeah.
And-
yeah.
Did you have an attorney? Did you get a nice little check there?
I got a new
Did you call
vehicle.
Blake Maislin?
That's it?
Well,
You didn't need a bacchiotomy or anything?
That's what the doctor said.
it sucks to be honest sometimes.
I need a bacchiotomy.
Oh my God.
Classic.
Good God.
So
I will say that the Mason and like Westchester Canada geese are the biggest assholes out of all the Cincinnati.
Oh,
Canada
for real?
geese. Yeah, there's
That's
something about like the
bullshit.
farther north they go, they're just like fuck you.
Well, they get snooty up there.
Oh, they do.
Oh, absolutely.
They do. They
It's the
turn
high
their beaks
taxes.
up at you, and they're just like, "This is my parking lot now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Terrorists.
unaware you're not allowed to hit them.
Yeah, they're a protected species.
I gotta
because they're
stop doing
migratory.
that.
So now,
we'll go ahead and
tell us what have you done?
I got a
Or
truck.
don't-
It's
don't,
big. I just drive over. It doesn't hurt them at all.
he's got hash marks. It's like
So for all of the game wardens listening to our show, he's totally joking. There
Totally
are no
joking.
air
It's
my
quotes
truth.
being
It's
thrown
my
around.
truth.
Exactly. Exactly. So listen to this episode
he
of
did
Craft Parenting
spill a little
Podcast.
beer for a Canadian
For
geese.
Canadian geese.
I poured it out for the
You know.
homie.
Yeah, poured it out for the homie.
Sorry about the cleanup job, Kenny. Producer Kenny, shout out to him.
Here comes the Centos man. He's on it.
Oh, he's
yeah.
on it.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, Craft Parenting Podcast, if you want to hear about amazing Christmas trees, Christmas parties, all of the Christmas beers that Cincinnati has to offer, even there, you can still find a lot of them out there, even though we are outside of the actual Christmas season, depending on when that ends for you. For some people, it goes until January 1st. For other people, the day after Christmas, done.
Do you guys have a favorite on that list of Christmas beers that they drink?
It's
know that's a tough one.
It's day to day for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a thunder snow last night. I had a thunder snow Christmas Eve. And matter of fact, I didn't find thunder snow until very recently. I don't know if there's a reason for that or I wasn't paying attention. So I got thunder snow, but Santa's Bribe from Taft's is always
It's
one that I
good.
pick
Yeah,
up.
it's a
but
good one.
I have to admit, I haven't picked it up this year, but it's one that I always enjoy. What else you got on that list there, Julia? What on the Christmas beers?
Did you want me to actually answer the question?
No.
Okay. I'll say that my favorite out of the list that we actually revealed, I would say Thunder Snow as well, just because it doesn't have to be Christmas for me to want it. Just anytime once the weather starts cooling down. So it's more of an all-encompassing beer for me to where I want to drink it more than just the 2 weeks
Christmas.
around
Yeah.
Christmas. Right. How about you?
Matt, what you got there, bud? Anything around Christmas beer? Do you like Christmas beer?
I'm not big into the Christmas beers, honestly. I don't, the cinnamon. All I usually taste is the cinnamon and a nutmeg. It's almost like coconut beer or barrel aged. That's all I taste for some reason.
That's fair.
Even when because me and Mark are, we're pretty on cue with each other. Like when he rates a beer, I'm like, okay, that's good, but I'll be like, dude, this is straight cinnamon. And he goes, I barely taste it. Same with Chanel. So it's like, I don't know what it is, but something about those beers. Every now and again, I'll find one where it's real subtle and I like them, but none that I can recall off the
So
top
you
of my
don't
head.
seek them out just
No.
because 90% of the time it might be a miss for you. That's fair.
Yeah.
So that's it's not totally off what we're talking about, but at the place I brew at, we took a little bit different of a spin. Instead of making like a brown ale or a Scotch ale, we did a Christmas lager. So it was a lager with Christmas spice, and I quite enjoy that. And it seems to be going over well. But
Is that the same one you had last year?
no, it's not.
Now, last year, I didn't try your holiday ale this year, but last year, your holiday ale was by far my favorite that I had in the entire city.
Wow.
Nice.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you very
fantastic.
much. Thank you. Truly appreciate that.
Did you have a favorite, Mark?
On that list, my standout was Nightcap, and for a lot of the same reasons that you were talking about. That's a beer that I don't think is so Christmassy that I couldn't drink.
That's a very
Other
fair
times.
assessment. It's more of
It's they call it a holiday.
Kind of, yeah, holiday ale,
holiday
winter
porter,
warmer
I
type
believe.
thing. Yeah. All right, well, we've wrapped up Craft Parenting Podcast. I see a couple of nearly empty glasses, so let's just take a quick break so at least Marco can get a refill, and we will be back with Sonder Stories. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for waiting the just several seconds in podcast landia. It's actually been a decent amount of time for that break. We had many glasses to fill, and we had some good behind-the-scenes conversation that, unless you're watching the live stream, you'd have no idea what's been going on.
Yeah, we're talking a lot of shit. Talking a lot of shit about Mark Miller.
Well,
Yeah, I'm telling you, that guy over there.
Good thing they don't sell many premium memberships.
So some of us have new beers. I'm still, again, as you all know, I am a slow drinker. I have the same glass of my slow pour Pilsner. You have...
I have
Marco?
Maine lunch.
Okay, and lunch is excellent no matter what meal you're having it for. I love that
Yeah,
beer.
I did have an actual lunch, but glad to have this lunch.
Second lunch? How about
Yeah.
third lunch?
That could be in my future.
There you go.
Could be.
All right.
Oh, I had one of my favorite lunches of all today.
Yeah.
Have you guys been to Fond yet?
Not yet. No,
It's
but
right
it's
across the
right
street.
across the street. I know.
Dude,
like I
so
need to.
amazing.
I had their
that
oh my
cod
cod
sandwich.
sandwich again today.
That
It's
looks
so good. I've had
amazing.
like 4 of them in the last 2 weeks. Anyway, I know that's off subject.
No.
It's a
all
local
good.
business. It's a
Didn't you-
local
Didn't you
business.
post a picture of that?
He did.
Yeah.
He did, and I'm like, I
hell.
need that in my life.
It's
And
amazing.
If they don't have that sandwich, I've never
I'm
had
just
Can't go
walking
wrong.
out.
You can't go wrong.
I've
Yeah.
never had
Anything on there is
not-
great.
Yeah, everything's banging.
Yeah.
Looks good. So, other than cod sandwiches, what do you have? Well, I guess a cod sandwich wouldn't go in a glass if it didn't. That'd be a
I don't
little,
know.
a
I mean,
If they
little-
blended it up, I'd drink that shit.
There you go.
But,
This is
what do you have
S'mores Gratitude from Mad Tree.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I
That
told
is
him I
good.
needed something local this time. So
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. And Mark, it looks like you grabbed a can out of the cooler.
I did. And I love that about this place. I mean, they've got however many beers on tap, like
576.
36.
Yeah,
Or
536, but then you can go to the cooler and grab cans. And I went out of town for this round, and I went ahead and decided to go with an Adina beer here, and I got Pipeworks.
They've had
And I
some
went
good
with
stuff.
Picnic in the Clouds, which I've been wanting to try this one for a while. So really
What kind of
excited
beer
about
is
it.
that? Because I noticed that your glass is it's not
is-
hazy, but it's a cool looking can.
Almost
Is
looks
that-
like. Is that a sour?
I believe it is. Yes,
Okay.
it's called a oat ale with lactose, so it's not
An
necessarily
oat
a
ale.
sour.
Oh, okay.
But it's got
Okay.
peach, mango, and apricot, so it definitely has a sour
Yeah.
notes to it.
notes to
Cool.
it. Yeah.
Cool.
It's got some Sir Mix-a-Lot vibes on the can there with the giant peaches.
Giant Peach, yeah.
Pipeworks has some great artists, that's for sure.
They
I
really
like
do.
big butts, and I cannot lie.
I'll tell you what, one of my
big
favorites. I like big pints, and I cannot lie. That'll be my next parody.
Okay,
I will make it happen.
do it. I was
I appreciated, what was it, Nothing But a G thing when you did that one?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's my
Which
shit. I could sing it
actually-
perfectly because I knew it.
okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I'm saying I could follow it. Some of her parodies, I'm
try
like,
to-
I got to listen to the song because I don't know how the
I try
rhythm
to
goes.
fit the
wanna hear
rhythm
him
of the
sing it.
song and the
Yeah.
cadence. I know, I do too.
The
so I
cadence,
actually,
the cadence has to be on.
Yeah, the cadence.
So an opposite shout out, so a non shout out to Jason of Higher Gravity, who actually said you should know exactly what to pick for one of the days beers in the calendar. And I'm thinking, there are 25 days. This could be any. You know, and I like how will I know? And he was like, you'll know. Trust me, you'll know.
How
you'll
will
know.
I
You'll know.
know? Anyways, go ahead.
When I got the high G, of course, I'm like, this has to be one of them. And of course, in my head, I'm like, Nothing But a G thing, or something from Ludacris, or something from,
Luda.
Right. I'm just like, there are so many things that would fit this.
Yeah.
So I put out my parody, and he was like, I'm disappointed in you. And I went, what do you mean? Well, that was the day you should have known. Afro Man was what he was
Afro
looking
Man.
for. Which
Which one? What song? Not Before I Got High.
no, the drive drunk. Shit, I know. So it actually says
This is a
malt
blind
liquor in the
man
song.
walking through the fish market.
Man, there's a million hip hop songs to say.
Right, but this
Malt liquor in
specific
them.
one was like something about driving drunk and like malt liquor. And I actually looked at it because my Josh was like, this is what you need to do. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't want to necessarily feel like I was encouraging drunk driving
Oh,
with
yeah.
it, even though I would have changed the words. So I'm like, no, I don't know, because there's so many other.
That's why we try to get
Big
Uber to
things, so-
sponsor us every time
Yeah,
on our
Yeah.
for
podcast
sure.
because we
Yeah,
don't
'cause
support
you don't
drunk
want to do
driving.
it. Yeah.
Shout out to my wife Rachel. My wife Rachel would remember. I would just wear out Afro Man's tape. That's how old I am. Tape.
Nice.
I mean, you're
in my
wearing
garage.
a WrestleMania 6 shirt right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of old.
Yeah.
Macho
yeah.
Man Randy Savage and all that. Hell of a shirt.
Hacksaw
pretty-
Jim Duggins.
Yeah. Hell of a shirt.
Roddy Piper. I see him on there. Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior.
But yeah, so Jason, I am
Jake,
sorry. Oh, is
Jake the Snake.
so fun.
Which is the
fun
name of your
story.
plant.
It is. I was just going to say it's the name of the plant that I have a snake plant in my office at work, and I have a picture of Jake Roberts on the planter because why the hell wouldn't you?
It's a snake
I actually
plant.
just listened to, thanks to courtesy of the Newport Report.
Oh
Shout
my
out
God.
to our boys up in flannel.
I'm only about 20 minutes in. I'm like, oh, this is a lot to handle.
Well, so in the Twitter sphere, in the Twitterverse, kind of like detouring to Newport Report a little bit, they mentioned in two or three episodes ago, there's a hockey player that has had arrest after situation happening. And they're like, if you're the NFL, why would you want someone like this on your team? Why would you want someone who is well known for all of these issues there? And I said, you've got to listen to the Crime and Sports podcast. It's all about athletes and kind of their fall from grace. Like they
No
had
shit.
everything.
That sounds interesting.
It's hilarious. It's done by two comedians, so they just make fun of them. They
Yeah,
did a
the
couple.
facts are the facts.
The facts are
but
the
they,
facts.
But they
poke fun at it.
Yeah.
They've done a couple episodes on Lenny Dykstra. Lenny Dykstra is a fan of their show. He's like, I love you guys. You are 100%
That's
accurate
hilarious.
in all the stupid shit that I've done. So I told Newport Report, like, you guys have to listen to this if you like this kind of stuff. And so they told me, you have to listen to the episode on Jake the Snake Roberts if you haven't already. Holy shit, I had no idea
Yeah,
about like
holy shit.
some of this stuff. It was ridiculous.
like
so,
just get past the introduction and about 20 minutes in, you're like,
yeah. How did
holy
he?
shit! And it's a 3-hour episode.
All of their episodes are like 2.5, 3 hours long.
Yeah.
They cover.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes
they're
in,
good,
you're
they're
like,
funny.
holy shit! There's 3 more hours of this. I don't know. Like my brain
listening,
hurts.
and you're just like, this is so. Total
Anyways,
tangent, just because
total
of your
tangent.
shirt. But Newbert, love you guys. Great job on the Packy One Chip Challenge. You killed it. They want us to do a one chip challenge
gonna
or some
happen.
type of thing.
I wanna be here.
Unless Julia wants to do it.
I might, maybe.
Yeah, you're the hot sauce queen.
Yeah,
I will,
you're the-
I'm not
you-
saying
you
no. Well, we will
I'm
see.
saying no, for show, because they text me and he was telling me, is like, no, this is some of the worst stuff I've ever
yeah.
experienced in my life.
Yeah.
Really?
And there's some the
Scoville
after
unit wise, like
the-
the heat index wise, I've had hotter, but not in the quantity that is like the entire chip being just.
he was like, don't
concentrated.
He was telling me, like, he said don't do it because the after effects are just awful as well. And I'm like, look, dude, I'm happy to hear. I feel your pain, but I'm not doing it. Hail to the nah.
I'm still saying maybe.
Okay.
I'm not ruling
well, no,
it out.
but if you want to do it, I
maybe.
support you in that. But
All right.
I'll have ice cream or sour cream or milk, and I'll have maybe portable fans,
Will a milk
ice
stout
packs.
be the
I don't
same
know.
as, like, milk
I don't know.
Afterwards, we'll find out.
Be worth trying out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, where were we? what were we doing?
We were. I think. I could be wrong here. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think we were talking about podcasts.
Oh yeah, that's right.
For sure. Oh yeah.
That thing we're doing.
So the next podcast that we're going to talk about is Sonder Stories, where Sonder.
85.
Yes, chapter 85.
Chapter
Thank you.
Ocho Cinco. I love that guy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
not to take another
the
sports
Bengals
tangent.
have a new Ocho Cinco.
They do. They
Yeah,
do.
my wife pointed that out when she was watching the game on Sunday. Of course, she's into her, whatever she's doing on her iPad, and she just looks up and she goes, "They have a new 85." Yeah, they get one every
New
now and then.
improved.
Right.
Yeah,
Less bullshit.
New 85.
But not as entertaining with the touchdown celebrations
No
yet.
way.
Yes,
Yeah, he was a beast.
Chad Johnson is still, I think, one of my all-time favorite athletes to watch. Like, just the entertainment value. Amazing athlete, but the entertainment value that he added to that athleticism.
Yep, right up there with Icky Woods.
Yeah, absolutely. Sonder Stories, Chapter 85.
Let's go.
Let's try to get these cats back into some semblance of an order with Devyn from Ohio
Eagle.
Ohio Eagle Distributing. I can say words on occasion. Which
3
I
in a
thought
row.
this-
I'm impressed.
Is the Ohio Eagle a bald eagle or just an eagle?
It's like a receding hairline eagle.
Recessive hairline eagle. Very good.
That's amazing.
Slightly overweight.
So I think that this
Yes.
I think that this was
Awesome.
an amazing episode to have you on the
With
show
some New
for,
Balance.
Mark. So Mark, I thought this would be awesome to talk with about you, not because of any type of comparison that I want to make between Adina and Ohio Eagle or any kind of whatever, but I thought that your insight into the distribution world would make this a very interesting show for you to listen to.
It was definitely an interesting show to listen to because of the insight and being inside the industry, and it was really neat. There was a lot of beautiful points they touched on, and I love the fact that mutually they came together and they kind of knew all along that they were going to come together.
Does
and
Justin know any strangers? I feel like everyone Justin knows and talks to. So I guess we'll kind of rewind. The guest on this show is Devyn, who is the president of Ohio. Good Lord. I cannot say our state's name for some reason. The OED. That's what I'm going to do.
Just say OH and see if anyone responds.
I-O.
Okay. OH.
I-O.
There we go. We had one. But Justin, Danny, and Chad were the Sonder fans. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what's
You better
happening
slow
anymore.
down on
This
that
is for
one
real.
pills.
Lord.
yeah, we better
Y'all,
check the
this is-
ABV.
This is
We-
still like my first one.
We drink beers. That's what happens.
I drink a beer, and this
And
is
it's
what happens.
almost New Year's Eve, y'all.
Party!
Right. Just wait till the third segment.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Hold on.
Guys,
Hold-
I apologize in advance. Justin, Danny, and Chad were the Sonder voices on this show, along with Devyn from OED. I'm not saying it again.
Which one of the guys from Sonder has the high laugh?
That's Justin.
That's
Okay.
Justin.
yeah,
He
we
goes,
kind of lean.
Yeah, that dude, I love that laugh, man. It gets
Oh
me
my God,
fired
it's
up.
contagious. It is contagious,
I want to
but-
meet
Yeah.
that dude and just like make him
no,
laugh
he's
all
very.
night.
He's a super awesome guy.
Yeah.
He
Super
sounds
righteous
like it.
guy.
Super
God, yeah.
awesome
and
guy.
you can tell that everyone he interacts with, inside and outside of Sonder,
That
everyone
laugh
he
gets me
meets-
fired up, dude. I love it.
Everyone he meets is just like, man, we connect. Like, he attracts good people.
He does.
Just period.
You're instantly that man's friend. I mean,
Yeah,
from the
yes.
the first minute you start talking to him, it's like,
And he's got a big smile, big smile. You
can't see it
You
from the
can't
beard.
see it on the podcast, but just imagine a guy with just amazing teeth and just a big smile. You know,
So does Justin have, and this is kind of pop quiz, what do we all think? Does Justin know anyone or have any friends inside or outside of the industry and outside of the Sonder family that is not a sneakerhead? Because he had Chris from Second Chance Kicks on.
Which was a
Yes.
great episode.
That was a
I
great
follow
episode,
him
yeah.
now. I got some shoes I want to get to him.
Nice.
Because of that episode.
what? Yeah, that's and his store. Why is his store all the way in Dayton?
Is it? I
It
thought he
was-
lived down here.
He
no,
lives
he
down
does
here,
live
but he
down
has a
here. But
storefront.
his shop is going to be out in Dayton, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh.
better
I don't know.
real
But
estate
Yeah,
prices.
he's
prices.
he refurbishes kicks, man. I mean, like
Yeah, they're dope.
Yeah, it really good.
I don't know. He does have a lot of people in there with the sneakerheads.
Yeah, and so they take some time, and in the previous episodes they talk about Danny just not really getting it, but not being opposed to getting the sneaker thing. And
Real fast, if you want to listen to the Second Chance Kick episode, it is episode number 71, or I'm sorry, chapter 71 of Sonder Stories.
chapter 71.
Yeah.
But the president of Ohio Eagle.
Hey, nice job.
Thank
Someone can say it.
Thank you. Very big sneakerhead,
Yeah, yeah.
and we have a sneakerhead here at the table.
We do.
I'm not a sneakerhead, but I like.
have the
I like-
appreciation?
Yeah, I
Well,
appreciate
you
them.
have, you have the facade of a sneakerhead.
I don't have the collection of a sneakerhead. I got some dope. I got a couple dope pairs of sneakers, but
Didn't
I
you
saw
do a
it-
sneaker ball?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
went to the ball.
yeah, I
Yeah.
did. It was. I mean, that was a
that
charity
looked
thing.
awesome.
It was incredible. And if you don't know now, Bigger Than Sneakers, which is a nonprofit from corporate in Hyde Park, the sneaker store, go to Sneaker Ball. It's amazing, man. They raise money for kids in the city, and it's probably one of the coolest fucking events I've been to in a long time. Like, you get all G'd up from the feet up, and you put on some nice kicks, and man, you just have a blast. I'm telling you.
G'd up from the feet up. I feel like Justin needs to get that tattooed on.
When does that happen? Julia and I and Mark probably should go next time.
Are Vans considered?
You can wear whatever. You should see the shit that comes through there. It's
awesome.
It's amazing. But I get them from corporate. I'll get something from corporate each year just so I'm supporting the local business as well. But yeah, it's something else, man. And then they had really good food there, really good DJ.
Oh, I'm in.
Like,
Done. Food.
They had like big boy sliders coming through, and I'm like, oh, it's over. I'm finna eat all of this
Big
shit.
boy from Outcast?
Yeah. Andre 3000 was carrying a tray.
3,000?
So one of the things about
He was walking across the stage like, Caroline.
Caroline. Awesome.
You know what? I guarantee he doesn't do it nearly as well as Marco does.
Well, no. I mean,
I'm telling you.
whatever.
So, okay, herding the cats back in. So back to Sonder stories. One of the big things that they mentioned early on, and Mark, I'm incredibly interested to hear what you have to say about this.
Sneakers.
They had a question about, they made a statement, I feel like. The consumer should not see or know the distributor. Like, that should be a complete, seamless, behind the curtains thing. I don't know that I agree with that necessarily, but I was interested to see what you thought when they
It's
when
funny
they said
because
that.
when I heard that, I did have some conflicting thoughts about that. I mean, ideally, if the distributor's doing their job, nobody's going to know the difference because we're really dealing with the bottle shops and the bars, you know.
And not the
we're gonna-
consumer directly,
And not the
right.
consumer directly, but, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with people knowing that, for instance, Adina brings in Pipeworks and that they're backing Sonder, because those kind of relationships are important.
Right.
And this is a community, and we all have to work together to make this really a success for everyone.
Right.
So,
My thought was somewhat similar, and then I want to know what Marco and Matt thought about this, is I feel like it's kind of, and this is going to be comparing apples and oranges, but hopefully you guys and the listeners will have an idea of what I'm trying to pull together here. I feel like it's somewhat similar to the vein of contract brewing, to where, yes, if you're doing it right, no one should really know how the beer's getting to wherever it's ending up. But there are some people that do care and would like to know. They're curious about it. And I don't think that should be something that is hidden. I think that there should be.
Yeah, but the people that care about it, like us, the beer geeks, so we know kind of who some of the distributors are and what they're carrying. And then we know who some of the people that are contracting brewing. And we know that. But even if we shouted it from the mountaintops, the people that don't give a shit about that,
well, they're not
going
to
to care at all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, my thought is more of when you see a new brand, you know, Pipeworks being an excellent one, or like 18th Street or all that, it's kind of like,
who brought it?
When you walk out, who brought it here?
Yeah.
Who was able to bring it into the city? I don't feel like a tap room or, you know, bottle shop, whatever, who's selling that. If someone asks you directly, oh, how did that get here? Who's bringing that into Cincinnati? Oh, the brewery's sending it here. And just not, because you're not going to ask if you don't have a curiosity about it. Right. If you don't care, you're just going to go, oh, what's that, and buy it regardless of how it got here. But I don't think that a distributor should necessarily, or I guess it would be more the bottle shop, the tap room, should be hiding, and I'm using air quotes for those of you not watching the live stream, the fact that it's not the breweries that are always directly bringing the beer to that location, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is in self-distributing cases, and you know that, or you find that out in self-distributing cases. I think it's a little bit different. I think a place like Adina is doing their job. They're small, they're local. Essentially, they're punching up, right?
Yeah.
And Ohio Eagle and the other ones around town, they're not punching up. They're big. Ohio Eagle's distributing Budweiser.
Right, sure.
You know, the fact that Sonder found a fit with them, when you listen to the episode, seems like it was meant to be, just because of the relationships, right, and the approach. A business like Adina is completely different because they're trying to find a place for the small people or the big people, that the people that they want to bring in, the people that want to come in. I'm sure they say no to a lot of places, just like Ohio Eagle said they do say no to a lot of places. So,
well, one of the
craft
things you
distributor.
said, and I took notes, I put the personal relationship and respect was built, and it was even with their business relationship. Like, that was very obvious that, this wasn't like a complete business decision. You know what I mean?
They want to make sure personalities.
Yeah, and even as a salesperson, the one thing I remember when he was saying at first when they were talking about self-distributing and stuff like that, the guy said, he gave him tips. He was like, okay, that's fine. If you're not, if you don't feel like going with somebody at this point, let us know when you do, or something like that. Where other people kind of were like,
upset
well, that's
that they
fucked up.
decided to do
You know
something.
What I'm saying? Take a note, to all you salespeople out there. So, like, if you're going to nurture
Don't
a
burn
relationship,
bridges.
you be there when they're ready. If you're really into it for trying to help somebody, and that paid off in their situation, I think, big
Exactly.
time.
Like you said, I mean, that's something that the people that, and I don't know which distributors were upset about when Sonder said we're going to try to self-distribute first before going with anyone. That's a bridge burn. That shows that
It's over.
You're not willing to invest in the company and support them regardless of what they're doing. Kind of, I guess. I don't know all the ins and outs, but-
Initially, it's a bridge burn, but honestly, if somebody's looking to make money, and with
there's
Sonder,
definitely a line,
and Sonder says this proven track record, and this is what we have. They're like, oh well, we want to make money, and so we'd like your business. But where the bridge was burned was from Justin's end, from Sonder's end.
Oh, right,
and
yeah,
say,
yeah.
like, hey, we're in this to make money. We're in this to grow. You weren't as cordial in the initial,
When we were just
discussion
feeling
when
things
we were
out,
feeling
right.
things out as this other brand.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that was really, really cool that stood out was Chad and his expertise. And this came in a off-site work situation where Chad was, having some beers with Justin and was basically saying, look, as the director of sales, saying, look,
I know this could be my job, but we make great beer. Our branding's fantastic, and we're okay at a lot of things. What we're not great at is distribution, the transportation.
Or we don't even want to get into it. Like, we're doing something so right. Like,
company,
yeah.
It's a really good.
Find out what you're good at and do that.
Sure.
Like, go all in.
And that's the thing, is that breweries find themselves having to be in different businesses.
Sure.
A brewery that
It's
has
like what Mark
food.
mentioned earlier. You know what I mean? Like, that's a whole other business.
Exactly. It's a whole other business. That's the thing. If you're going to have food in your place, well, you become a restaurant. Do you have restaurant experience? Do you have people that have restaurant experience? If you're going to distribute your own beer, now you have to have a whole nother wing, and they talk about the dollars that they would have to put in to having to run this beer around and hire people and all this other stuff. Is like, are you going to be good at that, or should you just put that money somewhere else and take the hit from a profit side and hire a distributor?
Yes, and different breweries go about it different ways, and there's different models that work for different people. And for Sonder, Ohio Eagle was a perfect fit and a beautiful marriage, and I think it's going to work well. Sonder was destined to go.
Oh, they wanted to be
yeah.
big. We've mentioned it before on the show.
Yeah.
They've wanted to be big since day one. I don't know.
Well, bigger than small.
Yes.
Right.
Like I was just gonna say, like I'm not sure exactly how big is kind of their limit, but they never wanted to be, the Pico Brewery that we like to kind of poke fun at the name of. They always wanted to be a grand presence in Cincinnati, and I feel like they're doing that, even though Sonder is only 3 years old now.
Just over 3 years.
It feels like they've been a Cincinnati craft beer presence
For real. That blows my mind that it's 3 years. Holy shit.
Right. It is absolutely amazing how established they are in Cincinnati.
I loved it when they talked about how they were like more success than we expected. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like, man,
right.
that just makes me smile. Like, from a
does.
hustler standpoint, like,
Yeah.
go, man, go get it.
What I thought was funny and comical was when they were talking about DH from
Country Boy.
Country Boy. I'm sure you have a lot of notes from DH from Country Boy.
I only have one, but it's a big one.
Yeah, that dude's like wild or something, isn't he?
Oh,
Like,
amazing.
He's crazy. But the topic came up where the president of Ohio Eagle saw the print, I guess, article
Yeah.
or whatever, whether it was in print or forward to him on social media,
Interweb or
whatever,
whatever, yeah.
interwebs, about this pretty aggressive project that was going to happen in Mason, and people around him said, "These guys are
They ain't fucking around.
These guys are kind of fucking crazy."
Yeah, they're
Right.
they're crazy. They're not fucking around, but they're crazy
Right.
because
and
they're
then,
fucking around.
and then
yeah.
DH from Country Boy saw it, and he saw the architect's renderings, and he went, "Hey,
They got
man,
a grasshopper?
They could get an architect.
They got money for an architect? Oh shit! It's like they got money for an architect.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Shit fire.
like
Yeah,
oh
right, the
hell.
Lexingtonism.
They're probably gonna do that.
Man, that. I mean, I feel him. When he said that, I was cracking up, but I was like, damn, like, yeah, when people have renderings and shit, I'm like, damn, you just spent a grip on this. Like,
For sure.
you got more than I did ever starting with anything. Like, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
The one thing that I had written down
forgot all about
about
that.
Country Boy and DH is we need a Country Boy podcast, like just once a month, just one of those, not every week, not every whatever.
be
but
amazing.
Holy cow, how much fun would that be to listen to DH and just
Hey.
anyone that he talks to?
Let's plan it right now. A Brewers Travelers Outcast podcast to Country Boy. Us four will go down there and we'll
Let's go.
sit with DH.
Love
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do
I'm
it.
in.
I'd
I'm
love
in.
to.
Yeah.
And apparently, if we're gonna video it or live stream it or put it on
DH
YouTube,
is guaranteed to show up.
at some point, DH just pops up. It's like, "Oh, is that a camera? Well, hello, I'm DH."
Have you met
smells the
DH? Does he
camera.
sound like
No.
that? Or is
No,
that
I
just your,
met
that's
DH.
just your country accent?
He was on one of Sonder's earlier episodes, and from Sonder's intros, the whole, if you're worried about the dirt and the
Oh,
grime
that dude's awesome.
on your
Oh,
limes.
I love that quote.
Oh, absolutely. It's my favorite quote of the entire intro.
Stay
They
home.
can never get rid of it. Stay home.
Stay
Don't
home.
worry about it.
Yeah, man, he's a hustler.
So
Yeah.
to get back to more of Sonder's stories, pro tip that I took away from the show: if you want a free beer, put an Ohio Eagle Distributing logo on the back of your badge, and you get a free beer. Seriously, do not do that. I do not want to get in trouble for people trying to get free beers by impersonating the Ohio Eagle distribution team.
I missed that part. Shit.
Yeah. And
That's why I take notes.
I guess for time's sake, I'll just go
Yeah.
towards the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
One of the most, I listen to these podcasts, and I truly am emotionally connected to how successful not just the podcast but the people and the businesses are.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that got me truly emotional was when Justin was talking about and this is in the "What Are You Listening To"
Correct.
segment.
Correct.
I forget the artist name because it doesn't fucking matter.
It was country.
It
all
was
that matters.
country, and they were talking about country. I'm like, well, why do we need to do that?
Yeah.
And so, but anyways, Justin was listening to country music and talking about. I think it was a Brad Paisley song, maybe. Don't know.
I didn't even bother
Yeah, when he
writing
was
it down
young or
because it was
something like
country.
that.
Yeah, when he was young.
Yeah.
And so he penned this song when he was maybe 9 years
9.
old.
Yep.
Like when you do the math, it was 9 years old.
And his daughter
and
recognized that.
Yes,
I-
his
yeah.
daughter recognized that at 9 years old he penned a song. He authored a song, and she went to her father and said, "Well, that's my age. Can I write a song?" And Justin said that you can do anything you want to do. And then she was in her room,
Night after
night after night trying
Writing
to work
tracks.
on a song.
Oh,
Fucking
yeah.
awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And,
That gave
and
me chills too, man.
I was so emotional. I was sitting in my living room with my earbuds in, listening to the show, and this was on Christmas Day. And when I heard him going into it, I started to get up, walk away from the living room, go into my bedroom because I said,
I'm gonna cry.
I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did.
And it still hit
I did.
you. I
It
mean,
hit
you
me.
know, and it still hit
It
you.
hit me because not only because certainly who knows what's going to be the inspiration to your kids, but think about this. Justin is a person who years ago thought with other people about starting his own business, being an entrepreneur, having this entrepreneurial spirit.
Hustler, baby.
That's right.
There we go.
That's right.
There we
You
go.
know what I'm talking about. And then to see this dream come true, to win a GABF medal, to making Sonder to with his ownership group and this whole vast amount of people that he has, to making this thing happen to his 9-year-old daughter, totally different from the business, saying, can I do this? And he says,
it's the same thing.
You can do whatever you want to do. And as she grows up, see her father with all of these people and everything that's happening.
Leading by example.
Yeah.
Leading by
100%.
example.
Yeah.
Whether she has a hit song or not, she knows that if she ever wants to do her own thing, that
She can do whatever she wants.
she has somebody in her life that can talk her through being
Or believe in her.
an entrepreneur. Exactly.
And encourage it. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So one of the big things I took away, like, and literally it falls right into line with what you're saying, because the things that I hear on this podcast, like, I don't really care too much about distribution other than my boys in the business, right? So some of the notes that I took where he was talking about, his thoughts on it's not a bad day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like my
yeah.
outlook on things. Like,
Sure.
shit can be way worse. When we have bad days, because some shit went wrong,
It's
it's
beer.
nothing.
At the end of the day, it's beer.
It showed gratefulness, appreciation, and like perspective. Like that's the kind of thing that I cued into when I was listening to this, and it's like the same thing. It's almost emotional. Even when he said he was talking about COVID and his perspective with that, he said, surround yourself with people that are rooting for you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was like, boom, that's so
That's it,
real.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
a hustler's mentality. Like you have to, or if you just want to be happy and you want to, the old saying is like, you're pretty much the accumulation of the five people you spend the most time with. It's that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
she's going to have that kind of mentality. If she's growing up under a hustler and somebody that believes in her and roots for her and has a perspective and gratefulness, holy shit, man, the sky's the limit for that kid.
Right. Oh,
I
God,
know
yeah,
exactly what you're saying, man.
Absolutely.
And not just his daughter. I mean, you can feel that when you're at Sonder. When you get to know anybody at Sonder, you can tell that that's just a spirit of the whole place. It's not just him. That place has that feel to it. The people there are just fantastic.
And he
Right.
said one of the quotes was, I wrote this down. It says, I want to live. I don't just want to be. And I was like,
That's
boy,
amazing. Yeah, that's-
motherfucker, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was a quote from Ohio Eagle president.
Yeah, it was.
Devyn,
It was.
Yeah, because they're talking about the vacations he goes on and the things that happens and the way he has fun, and that's true. I totally agree with that. And it was a very, very cool insight. You don't get behind. So it was Sonder Stories. Certainly, it's their way of giving you insight from Sonder. You don't get this kind of insight very often because
Unless you listen to the Hustle and Brews podcast.
This is
exactly
True. This is true.
because
well, it
because
doesn't come lightly.
But
You know
even
what I mean?
Sonder,
It's-
even the word Sonder it talks about people's story, right? Like, isn't the meaning of Sonder like how
Everyone
people
has a story.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's perfect. Like, in the fact that I picked, like, the thing I like about Saunders the most is the dude's laugh. You know what I mean? Like, it's infectious, and I like want to hang out with this dude. Like, it has
Right.
nothing to do with
Right.
Sonder. It has nothing to do with whatever episode. I was like, this dude seems like he's fucking happy.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
well, but my point was they pick a beer and they talk about the inside of the beer, or they pick a person that works there and then talk about the inside of the person that works there. This was talking about their collective, back from day one, pursuit of, are we going to self-distribute, to how, after we decided to self-distribute, to transition to a distributor. So that was a really cool journey to listen to, because I don't know how many other places that it's public, the story from the people who did it,
Right.
who lived it,
Sure.
how that happened. So
Right.
this was a very, very intriguing episode to me.
Absolutely. And I think that other breweries can benefit from listening to that specific
Oh,
podcast.
agreed.
Without a doubt.
Because
Breweries to come in the future. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe 15 years from now, somebody's going to hear that and be like, damn.
it's a tough decision, because you'll hear a lot of times breweries will say, well, we lose money every time beer goes out the door. And it's a slight exaggeration, but it definitely cuts into profits. But there's pros to it. You get your
Right.
name out there, you get your beer out there, you get
Yep.
you know, and then you've got to decide. Here in Ohio, we've got the laws and ability to self-distribute. That's not true everywhere.
That was a great
It was,
podcast. Though.
It was a great episode. The
I'm
last
glad
note,
you guys got in the feels with it too,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that
Oh,
was
yeah,
more of
for
like
sure.
that
If you
felt like a
didn't-
Hustle and Brews podcast. Like it was motivating me. I was like, damn, like these guys are getting me pumped up,
Oh
man.
yeah,
That's right.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, last note that I had on the episode, because I'm noticing again, a couple empty glasses. We actually have a beer that Marco brought in for all of us to share and try. So we'll be cracking into that before we start talking about the Outcast podcast. But the last note that I had on Sonder stories was near the end of the episode, before the "What Are You Listening To" segment. Devyn asked all the Sonder guys, "What's something that your listeners probably don't know about you?" And I'm not going to give
That was
everyone's
interesting.
answer. The only thing that I'm going to say, and that I'm going to conclude this
Are you
on,
going to take it around the table?
if you all want to,
Sure.
to talk about that, yeah. So Mark, what was?
So they conclude before the "What are you listening to?" with saying, "What's something about you that the podcast listeners don't know?" And they go around the Sonder stories table and say something. So I don't see any reason why not to go around the
That's
table
fair.
here.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
You guys might not know this, but I'm a musician here in the local music scene. I play mandolin, electric mandolin, bass
Mandolin.
guitar.
Holy
He is
cow,
a
that's
bad
awesome.
motherfucker
And
too.
I play in several bands. My main band is called Highly Likely, and got a bluegrass band on the side too, because I'll forever play bluegrass music till the day I
Nice.
die. We've played here actually at BC several times. We're one of their. I don't want to call us a house band. I'm working my
Do
way
you-
in that direction though.
Do you have website, Twitter, Instagram handle that people can look up?
yeah,
your bands?
I mean, put
yeah,
it out
shout
there,
it out.
bud.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
a Highly Likely band. I should know this, but hey, you can Google search Highly Likely and come up with it, and that's
All right,
also the soundtrack or the bumper
Theme
music
music.
for
Yeah.
both
Both
our
podcasts.
podcast and
And
Hustle and
I remember
Brews.
telling Matt,
So
I love the music in this podcast, and he was like, "It's Mark."
that's our
Yeah.
band, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something
Cool.
that's
I knew
Not
that
over-
shit.
I know you knew
But not,
that
a,
shit.
but not a lot of
Yeah,
our
I'm
listeners
just
might
messing
know
with
that. Yeah.
All right, Marco, what do we don't know about you?
That he is actually 6'2".
That's funny.
Only with his platform shoes on though.
With his heels.
Yeah. I'm 5'5" regularly, but I'm 5'7" in heels.
Woo.
Your Kings Island shoes.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I had to get them resold. They've worn out kind of thing.
You're down.
I don't know. I mean, this is tough because our listening audience knows that I have a full-time job doing retail, and I have a part-time job as a brewer. So that, and I'm a co-host of a podcast.
What?
So that's I know. It's crazy.
Surprise.
I did
That
not
is
know that
not
about
new
you.
news.
It's weird.
There
You
you
are
go.
not
new news.
surprising a
Any stupid
goddamn
human
person
tricks.
with that.
So even though, okay, let me take this back to the episode with Lee. So when we were talking about food, and I when I have the time, I dig deep into food. I mean, like I do a lot. There were 2 years in a row where I submitted hamburger recipes to the Sutter Home Better Burger contest.
Okay.
I was never picked, but I had, over the course of 2 summers, compiled about 6 different grilled burger recipes, and I had my wife help me to where I could get down to a T on the time frame to where these burgers turned out amazing.
That's
Like
awesome.
she
That's a
helped me.
skill.
Like I was in it. I was cooking,
So
and
if we bring a grill here to BC's Bon Lodge
Dude.
Montgomery,
I
Yes.
fucking slay it.
Let's do. I want a burger now. I love
I'm
burgers.
slay
calling
it.
bullshit, and I don't believe any of this until you can
get
actually
one.
prove this
There
to
we
us.
go.
I don't mind that at all.
All right.
Nice.
I-
Okay.
My fact is, I made the cut into the Dave Chappelle Untitled documentary talking about the comedy shows at
Hell
Yellow
yeah.
Springs. So I have like a 5-second part in there where they interviewed me at one of the shows, and that's like, I couldn't believe it, man. It's like I don't know. That's like a
Congratulations.
highlight to my.
Hell yeah.
That's my highlight reel.
That's
It's up
awesome.
at the top.
Hell
It
yeah.
is.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I still don't know what I said though,
Yeah. Well,
because I was
What part
wasted
of
when
it?
I said it. They interviewed me for 15 minutes, and I said a whole lot of shit. And then when we went to see it at the college or downtown,
Yeah.
as soon as I came on the screen, I started screaming like, "That's me, motherfucker!" And like then it was gone.
They're
I
like,
was like,
sir,
"What I
we're
say?"
going to need you to leave.
Like what I say? What I say? I have no idea, but
That's
I'm in
awesome.
there.
Julia.
I guess one thing, and I don't know how anyone would ever know this unless I told them, but back when the Indianapolis Children's Museum first opened, they were doing some type of drawing contest or something like that. And my drawing of a red and blue T-Rex in front of a yellow stick figure person, because I had blonde hair, so yellow person, made the cut and was on one of the big banners that they had hanging from the ceiling.
Really?
No
for,
shit.
for years.
What, like 4 years ago?
Yeah, 4.5,
it's about-
5,
okay.
5, yeah. And I can double wrinkle my tongue.
That's
so.
a great museum.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's
for
my
all you
stupid human
Platinum Patreon episodes, we got a double wrinkle on the tongue. I'll give you a bonus one just for the hell of it, since we just came out of Christmas and going into New Year's. So I went to, from 3rd grade to 8th grade, I went to Catholic school. I did 9th grade as well. But Julie
through
and I,
12th, got you beat.
Julie and I have talked about this before. So I was an altar server, and what would happen is the
Priest
shortest
would come along.
the shortest altar server would get to carry the baby Jesus all the way up to the altar, and then put the baby Jesus in the manger.
Everyone knows where this is going.
And I got to carry baby Jesus 2 years in a row, and my mom was never prouder. So, anyways, thank
Sweet
you for
baby Jesus.
Yes,
Sweet baby Jesus.
that's right. And okay, we'll take a break. We'll collect ourselves and be back in just a moment.
Yes, sir.
This is gonna be a long episode.
And welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us through this very short
Interlude.
edited- Yeah.
Like 5
Interlude.
seconds, man.
Yeah,
no
it's
kidding.
Quick.
5 seconds.
I
less,
can't believe
maybe
I got
not.
a beer that fast. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, producer Kenny's pours are spectacular. He knows what you
Fan-
want before you even get up there, and he's like, "I already got it for you, man."
Right. It's like if I'm gonna order a slow pour, he knows to start about a half hour before the segment
Yeah,
ends.
we give him a little signal. It's like you can't see us unless you're on the premium Patreon, but you kind of tap 2 fingers to your chin, and then you go to the shoulder. to
Dude,
the
don't give
elbow,
away
to
your
the
signs. The
shoulder.
opposing
I know, I was
team's
just
going to
gonna
be
say.
have an advantage.
And then Kenny is like, boom, on
Got
the
it.
slow pour. So I brought a Christmas gift for the pod to share. I have barrel-aged Imperial Stout Bourbon Barrel Mall from High Grain. And so it's a 12-ounce can. We're going to
Get
split
that right
it.
up in the mic. We're gonna have beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
And we're having so Matt actually also, and I believe you said this in the beginning of the show, or maybe it was during our pre-production meeting. I don't recall anymore because we've had beers. He also pours on occasion down at Narrow Path Brewing in Loveland. So go see him, follow him on Facebook, and whenever he says he's going to be down there, be down there. So we gave him the job of please pour our beers for us because we don't know what we're doing.
And I will vouch for the fact that I think I've been there every time that Matt's had a shift because I'm always up for an excuse to go to Narrow Path, and he
It's so
knows
good.
how to
If I
throw it.
wasn't
We have
coming
a
from the west
blast.
side, yeah, I would love to get there more than what I can. I think the last time you said you were down there, it was like the day of, and I'm going.
Yeah.
I from after work, I just didn't have the time to make it down.
It was
but I
literally all my
certainly
buddies hanging
want-
out. That's all
That's
the people that
awesome.
came in. It was great.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead, and I will kind of talk a little bit
Cheers.
about this beer while
Yeah.
people take drinks.
Cheers,
This
everyone.
is
Yep, plastic cups don't make any sound.
they,
but
they really don't.
Tink,
tink, tink, tink, tink, tink. So this is an 11.5%. It is rich, smooth, and warm. It is Mall Imperial Stout. Aged
I've had
for
Mall. Yeah.
Have you had Mall? Awesome.
Yeah.
This one is aged for 12 months in bourbon barrels. I believe they did several adjuncted variants for Black Friday.
They did a few.
believe-
I don't
okay.
remember the exact number. I do remember being at High Grain with my wife and my son Vincent. Shout out to Rachel and Vincent. I had a slow pour Pils. I had their German Pilsner, and then I had the Foking.
Fucking.
Christmas ale.
Merry
And then I said I need to take the the base malt, the barrel aged base malt. I need to have that. I'm going to share that with a few people, so I bought that. We did have dinner as well, and so it's
Which you definitely need to do when you're drinking
Oh my
this
gosh!
beer.
I mean, their food is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you need to do it when you're at high grade anyway, because they're chef driven menu. That is definitely one of my top breweries in the city. They're pumping out great stuff and doing it very environmentally sound.
Yes, yes,
I
they
just
are.
love the business model. I love the people there.
Yeah, just cool. I mean, Matt is amazing, man. I love that dude. And then, him and I can't remember the other brewer's name off the top of my head, but they were both trained in Germany.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool story.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I want to start with you on this beer because you and I feel like, are a little similar on the barrel-aged beers. A lot of times when you have something
It's not
that's
my thing
barrel-aged,
usually, yeah.
it's typically too much barrel, not enough beer. For me, I want to taste the beer and then
Right.
get the barrel, where
Yep.
a lot of them, it's,
I'm 100%
you're-
with you.
Yeah, you drink it and you're like, this is booze with maybe a little bit of beer taste. to
Yeah.
it.
Well, I don't know if you've ever listened to our podcast, but I mention it
Once or twice.
Yeah, I mention it from time to time. I have this hang up about barrel aged beers. They'll make this beer and they'll put these beautiful things in it, like peanut butter, chocolate, vanilla, and then they barrel age it, and then all I taste is bourbon.
Right.
Yeah.
Which,
And-
nothing wrong with bourbon, but if I want to drink bourbon, if I want to taste bourbon,
I drink bourbon.
I drink bourbon.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
If there's a barrel aged beer, I want that beer to be the star of the show. But then as you're drinking, you're like, oh, there's that warmth from the
Notes.
bourbon.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
the
yeah.
notes, the oak, the wood from it.
No.
So what do you think about
So this one I'd say
this?
is on the cusp of how far I can go. So this it's not completely subtle, but it's subtle enough where I would actually drink a pint of this. You know what I mean? Where I normally wouldn't.
all right.
So
a whole pint?
Yeah.
Or like a
You're
snifter?
the man.
Yeah.
well, yeah, probably a sifter. Because what is this? What is it? 11?
Yeah,
11.5.
good luck getting them to pour you a pint of this, but
But yeah, I mean,
If
it
you
doesn't
can.
it doesn't destroy my palate. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I'm not worried about the rest of this pint sitting over here because this one tore it up. You know what I mean?
Well, that's great. I mean, so if someone gave you, say, a can as a gift, it's a 12-ounce can. You're saying, yeah, I could have that can over a session, and
Depends on who gave it to me.
Okay, very good.
Fair point. Fair point.
this beer
Oh, man.
though is a very good example of when barrel age can be done properly. It's,
yeah.
it's
I
very well balanced.
totally
You're-
agree.
It's
Yep.
there. You can
Yeah.
taste that bourbon, but it is not overbearing. It's not taking away from the flavors.
But the
that-
aroma of it is heavy. Like when
Yes.
you smell it first, it smells very heavy with the
Yes.
barrel age, but it doesn't taste as forward as the smell is.
You still get that chocolate from the stout. You still
For sure.
that stout presence very, very strongly. So,
Yeah.
And
it's interesting. Like, I wonder when they're developing and marketing these barrel aged beers, because there are definitely two distinct markets. There's the people that are like us, that we want our barrel aged beer to be balanced. But then there's those total bourbon heads that
That want
love that.
nothing but,
They
yeah.
love 15% beers where all you taste is a bourbon barrel. You don't taste the beer. You just
Well, yeah, but you got to think to them, they're probably tasting beer because it's not
That's true.
bourbon. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Like they're
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
drinking bourbon, so they're probably like, yeah, this is definitely beer, but I can taste the bourbon. Where I'm just
For
like,
us,
holy shit, yeah, it's exact opposite.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's great. I wonder how they do that too.
Marco,
Yeah.
your thoughts? Have you had that? You said that you had this when you.
I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Oh, you had the
but
one of the-
what I
I'm sorry,
have not
I
had it
misunderstood. Okay.
until just now.
Nice.
And what I did ask, and I made sure, and actually, our shout out to our server. Don't know who you are at High Grain. Thank you. They actually went and texted the brewer because I said, "Does it have lactose?" And they said, "I don't know." And they came back and said it does not. None of our barrel aged beers have lactose. And I was like,
Nice.
hell yeah. I mean, why don't we
give me
know
a
that?
pint flight for
Why
all
don't
of
we
them.
know
Yeah,
that? I
yeah.
said, well, give me the base. That's what I
Yes.
need. I need the base, and I'm gonna take this 6-pack, and I'm gonna hand these out as Christmas presents to friends.
Nice.
All right.
And so
Brad Brooks is the other brewer. I'm sorry, I looked it up. I had to make sure because I met him and he was on Hustle and Brews and he's a good dude too.
He
so
is a
I wanted
good
to make
dude.
sure I didn't just say the other guy.
I know that you're on the cusp, and I've heard you talk about this on your podcast. I know you have allergy issues. I really think that in the industry, we're on the cusp of they're going to have to start putting like allergy warnings on this shit. They're going to have to start like letting people know
Yes.
that there's peanut and lactose, because There
Too many
are
people
people that
don't.
go in and have a beer and they don't know what milk stout means, and next thing you know, they're at home that night going curled up into a ball, grabbing their stomach, going,
Or-
"Oh God, I feel horrible."
Or the opposite, because they don't
Or that.
know, they don't buy the beer because they're like, I have no idea, I have no way of knowing, so I'm going
Yeah.
to err on the side of caution, and
Yep.
I'm not going to try.
I find
90%.
myself in that category. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Julia. I think there's a world of beer out there that I can have that I just shy away from, and just tell me I can have it is what I'm asking for.
Well, right
Now, if everybody who had to declare they had lactose in the beer did, that would be easier. Now, if they're not going to, then the beers that don't have it, maybe you should say lactose free.
Right.
I would appreciate that.
This is awesome, but
we've got about 60
had
minutes
beers.
before this place closes.
yes.
And what I'd like to do is finish the podcast so we can have a beer before we're done.
Before we're done, yes.
Like
So-
when the episode's over.
So the high grain barrel, the barrel imperial stout, the barrel aged. I've had beers. I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to apologize. I've had
No.
beers and I
No,
love it.
don't- please never
what
apologize.
That's
Like, I've had
right.
beers. Fuck
Yes.
y'all.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to apologize, Julia. That's the way to do it.
So I just want to say the can art is it is so simple and clean. It is cleaner and fresher than the Centos Sky Leaves BC's bottle.
So fresh and
Montgomery.
clean.
And
It
Mark,
is
And it even
gorgeous
didn't take
in
a
its
blue
simplicity.
disc.
weren't we there and asked about Maul? About the naming of Maul? Was it
Darth Maul.
Darth.
Was it Darth Maul?
It's gotta be.
Yeah, and
It's gotta
it's
be.
black
It's
and red.
beautiful.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So-
he told us it was.
Never underestimate the powers of the dark side.
It's true. So, in addition to this, because we have all, except for me, I still have a drink or two left in my mini cup, there are also additional beers on the table because, again, we continue to drink throughout this podcast. So, Matt, what is in
This is a
your
live
glass
drinking
right now?
show.
Yeah,
It
I'm
really
drinking
is.
the can that Mark got last time. I meant to get the brown, but now I'm getting the
The
picnic
Sir
in the
Mix-a-Lot
clouds. Yeah.
can.
Okay, yeah.
It's the
I
Sir
like big
Mix-a-Lot.
peaches and I cannot
Yeah,
die.
it's got.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we need. We need like a
I
live
have-
beatboxer.
I went back to the pills.
Because
That's
it's
what I
so
do.
fucking good.
It's so
It
good.
It's so good.
Mark,
Such a classic style.
I am. I'm going ice, or I guess it's. I'm
Ice?
going with Spice Baby.
You got
I-
Vanilla ice is what I was meaning to say. I almost said iced tea, but not
That is
quite as
not-
cool.
certainly
But
not.
wrong guy.
I'm having Spice Baby.
Oh, I love that. Oh man, I
Yo,
need you guys to.
VIP. Let's
It's a
kick it.
winter warmer. It's
Oh
8%.
yeah,
Let's see.
That's
So
a
it's
good one. I've
Butcher
had
and
that
the
brewer.
okay, because it just kind
How
of
did we get
drops off
hype on
after
that damn song?
It says
We've had beers.
I've had
hey,
that a
because the
couple
roots
times
of
and
that
it's
song are much
delicious.
cooler than the song itself.
It's a few podcasts and it's.
Oh,
that's nice.
Doing a gnarly gnome taste.
Oh, you
yeah.
got it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. Doing a gnarly gnome taste. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go into it's called the Brews Travelers Outcast Podcast. Oh, wait, Julia.
I've never heard that one.
Julia, do you have a new beer?
I do have a new.
Well,
beer.
let's not go into the new podcast until we hear about your beer, Julia.
It looks dark and thick.
It looks yummy.
This is my nickname in high school.
Yeah, so this one is another seasonal. It's from it's from Pipeworks.
Yes, that was my nickname in
Rudolph
high
versus
school.
Unicorn. It is a peppermint. I don't know what because I had producer Kenny give me a suggestion.
Yeah.
So give me.
My nickname in high school.
Oh, slap!
That is a heavy hitter right there. That
Yeah,
beer
it
is.
is.
I said it needed to be
I had a
under
taste of it earlier.
12%.
I think it's 11.5 or
11
something.
Shit, you ain't playing.
That's right, 11.5.
Uber.
Outcast Podcast.
yeah.
Do you know, Marco? Do you know anyone who's on the Outcast Podcast?
All
Yeah,
of them.
you got Wrong Way Twitty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some you
Yeah,
have chili pants.
Chili Pants.
Wrong Way Twitty was supposed to be here, but he got lost on the way. He took a wrong turn.
I think that's it. That's all that I
forget
can.
The Wolf.
The
The
wolf.
Wolf.
The
Oh
Wolf.
damn! How
Who
could-
made an appearance at our most
She
recently
did.
recorded up in Yellow Springs.
Now those
The Wolf is love the appearances with the Wolf.
oh,
Yeah.
we do too. That's the core four, but the Brews Traveler is actually bigger than us. It's not us. You're a Brews Traveler. Julia's a Brews Traveler. it's a concept. It's an idea. It's about getting out and drinking beer and having fun and
With like-minded and craft beer loving people. You know what I mean?
And having some exploration at the same time, because there's so many great breweries here in Cincinnati. What's the number? Is it like 64 or somewhere in that?
Close to
Or somewhere in
Close
that?
to 70, yeah.
It's
75,
crazy.
88. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot.
With the actual number.
Yeah, whatever. But whatever.
We'll say 64. We're
Sounds
going
good.
with that, and that's the answer.
No.
Rolling in my 6-4.
What is the proper number? If you're going to go in the 60s, what is the proper number to say? Come on, guys.
69.
Damn
69.
straight. Okay.
Okay, so there's 69 breweries in Cincinnati, but then there's within a short drive, you can explore so many other brilliant markets. Like I freaking love the Dayton beer market. There's so many damn good breweries in Dayton. It's unbelievable. So, I mean, once again, the concept is get out, check these places out, and, there's...
Drink with people that like drinking beer, just like this.
Oh, anyone can be a Brews Traveler, but you guys are hosting the podcast. You're the Brews Travelers Outcast Podcast. Mm-hmm. So, Mark, you're Quick Trip, and Matt, you are the Brews Traveler. Explain the framework of the podcast, and then we'll go into the new episode.
So it's typically broke up into three parts. So the first portion, if you listen to the podcast, we're going to talk about the brewery itself, from everything from aesthetics to size to things like that. Then we go, if we're lucky enough, we talk to somebody from the brewery, where we'll talk about, we do the rapid fire questions. Even if nobody's there with us, we'll try to get those questions answered. But we talk about, are you pet friendly? How many parking spots do you have?
The
Things
what
like
you
that.
need to knows.
Yeah, the things that you might want to know if you're going to go there. And then on the third section, we just talk about what our favorite beers were that we tried that time, or that day, based on their list.
We don't just cover like, hey, we're at this brewery. We say, hey, we're at this brewery, but say we're at this brewery in Mason, Ohio. So like we'll just use Sonders as an example. We haven't actually done one there yet, but that's in the works. While you're in Mason, here are the other breweries that are within 5 miles, but here's also other things you can do, because we're once again trying to promote people
and
taking an adventure, And
Right, like if
so,
they think that Sonder is the only thing to do in Mason, well, do I really want to drive X amount of minutes to go to Mason, to go to Sonder, when there's nothing else to do?
Well, if you go to Mason, you better not just go to Sonder. You
right,
better
right,
go to
exactly.
Common Beer Company. You
16
better,
lots,
16
Kings
lots,
Island,
soon to be a
Walmart.
Warped Wing,
Yeah.
Not to mention, the other things to do. Like I said, we try to also say, you could bring your whole family here, drop them off at Kings Island, and drive over here and get drunk while they're riding roller coasters,
They eat blue ice cream, you drink it.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it, actually, for those who have kids of that age where you can just let them off. I mean, you just let them off and go do your thing, and then, have your DD, take you back and, run that through. That's the way to do it. But you're right. I think, what episode was it? I was trying to think. No, it was this one where the stretch. Okay.
So let's back up just a second.
Yes, back up,
one.
yes.
So the episode we're going to talk about today of the Brews Travelers Outcast Podcast is episode 14, where you guys went to Swine City.
Yes.
Which is in Fairfield, Ohio, which is a stone's throw from Hamilton, which is where the Gnarly Gnome lives, if you've listened to our previous show. And it was Quick Trip, Brews Traveler, and Wrong Way Twitty that were present for this current episode. So, Mark, if you want to go into what you're going to bring up from this current episode of the thought process.
The radius.
There are pockets of, even though we have 62, 70, 80, whatever it is.
69.
69.
Yeah, baby.
There are pockets of the area that you need to drive a little bit further to get some craft.
Yeah.
Brewery, meaning not get to a place that serves craft as a bar or
Just
other
purely a tap room.
Purely a tap room. It was, you guys went to Swine City in Fairfield,
And the 5 mile radius didn't exactly work out that very well.
It didn't work out.
There
Didn't
was
work
only
out so
one
good.
brewery that was actually within that 5 mile radius, and that was
Yep.
Municipal.
Yeah,
But
municipal.
you guys touched on an excellent point from that. Municipal is in Hamilton, which again is stone's throw from Swine City and Fairfield.
And Gnarly
But
Gnome's
Hamilton and Gnarly Gnome's home. Municipal is the only brewery, as in place that brews
Technically,
on site.
yes.
But you guys made the excellent point that within that 5 mile radius, you have the Fretboard Tap Room, which again, not a brewery.
Not a
so you didn't
brewery,
include
but
it because
serving
you don't brew
great
on site.
beer.
Yeah.
Fretboard Brewery, you have like Pinball Garage, you have so many other available
Pine House.
options
Yes.
within 5 miles, right?
Hamilton Urban Backyard.
Not
Yeah.
Pine House. What is it? Up there.
North Second Tap and Bottle is another one that's up there. Then, if you guys haven't been there, it's
There used to be a
small.
Casual Pint up in Hamilton.
There is
Still
one
is.
there.
That one's still
Yes,
there.
it's
The one in
Andrew.
Oakley
Yeah.
closed. I
Yeah, Andy's
apologize.
up
That's
there.
what I was. That's what I was.
Casual Pint.
Andy Foltz,
Hamilton's
frequent,
Urban Backyard
yeah.
is a place.
Yep, Hamilton's Urban Backyard.
Jungle
Check out.
Gyms. It's a closest to
Yeah.
Swine
Sure.
City.
1.1 mile.
1.0 mile,
1.0.
according to Google.
Now, and
Google-
that's,
Google has
and I
never
think
lied to
that
me.
is- and I think that's awesome that you guys point that out, especially in this episode. Most of your episodes, you do have multiple actual,
Sure,
brew
you're in
on-site
downtown
breweries.
Cincinnati, and we can name 10 breweries within 5
5
miles
miles,
easily.
right.
But you get into, we did another podcast yesterday in Yellow Springs, and it was the same thing. Within 5 miles, it was one. It was
you
900
had
feet.
other-
It was a
Yep.
900 feet walk down the bike path. But
Yep.
other than that, you had to go 9 miles to get to another brewery.
But what I loved about your podcast and this episode in particular that you mentioned, yes, there is only one, quote unquote, like legit on-site brewery within 5 miles, but there are all these other things to do. Swine City is one of those breweries that you feel like when you're driving there is nothing for miles and miles. Like it feels like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of an industrial I don't want to say complex, but an industrial area.
We talked about the fact
But
that it was like
they're
they just put the
fields,
mural
it's not
on the
just-
wall, and
yeah.
before they did that, you
You had
drive
no
right past
idea.
it and not
Yes.
even know there was a brewery there.
Right.
Well, and it
Right.
reminds us of where we met each other too. You know what I mean? Like Queen City Brewing was in the middle of an industrial
Right.
spot where
if you didn't know it was there and
You'd
you
pass
didn't
it
know
right up.
exact
Just for the record, if you want to start a drinking game on our podcast, it could be every time we mention Queen City Brewing Company.
This is true. I actually
Maybe not as drunk as a burp count, but we do.
So-
I mean,
or
that
when
is.
we fuck up our names, we're getting way better at that.
So that's funny you should mention that because when I started, because we knew Shift Beers wasn't able to get together for an episode, and I'm like, I don't have anything for a count, so I'm going to count the number of times you guys mess up and say your real name.
Wasn't this the
instead
first
of your-
episode that we didn't even do it, or am I wrong?
You're correct.
Ah.
You guys pointed it out. So my did they mess up their names count, which is written in the side column of my notes, is 0 with an exclamation
So,
mark next to it.
I almost said
You
the names
guys-
on purpose because I was like, I don't think we fucked up.
know.
We didn't, and
You
I
didn't.
want to
You were-
apologize to anybody that was into the drinking game aspect of this. That we left you
There's
sober.
nobody, dude. There's nobody.
Dear Shift Beers, you left us all sober by not putting out an episode this
Right,
week.
and then we contributed by not fucking up names. So we all work together to keep the world a better place, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah, I kinda
or
feel
the
like
road safer, whatever.
Everyone needed to detox a little bit after the holidays. You guys were just ensuring that happened. But I did try. I did try to count the number of times you guys said your real names instead of
And
your persona.
Normally, you probably would have had a
Would have had
decent
a few.
count.
Yeah.
We're getting good at this shit.
So,
apparently.
so let me ask you, what are the highlights from you two that you want our listeners to know about Swine City?
I think I know one of them.
Because after that, I just want to get a little bit of the history of your podcast, so
Yes.
that our
Yes.
listeners who
So my-
maybe just getting to us can get some of that, that new.
So
wanna
we mentioned this in the podcast. Like when we first went to Swine City when they first opened, we weren't overly impressed. You know what I mean? Like we were like, okay, the beer's okay, but it wasn't like nothing melted our face. But like it's really important to us as like brews travelers and just supporters of local business that you go back to places over and over. It doesn't matter if I went to Swine City 50 times. And I was like, yeah, the beer's okay. I'm still going back. You know what I mean? But it didn't even take that long with this place. And I think that's pretty standard with any brewery. Like when they first open, I think they're like getting used to the new system or whatever. And maybe the recipes aren't translating perfectly or like exactly how you want them. I go back, if I go to a new brewery, I come back 6 months later automatically. You know what I mean? And I'll go back 3-4 times. And I mean, Swine City is really impressed me with with what they've done and how they've improved over the time that I've been going there. The last 2 to 4 visits have been awesome. I've had great beers every time I go. You know what I mean? Where I wouldn't have said that right away. You know what I mean? But it doesn't discourage me. I have tons of breweries locally where I'm like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going back. You know what I'm saying? I want to see how they improve.
Absolutely.
It happens all the time.
I had that same experience last week. I went back to Cincy Brewing Company. I hadn't been there in a really long time. And I'm extremely thankful that I went back. I mean, the beer is on point. The bartender was fantastic. I had a beautiful time. And it's just, that's important. You don't ever give up on a brewery.
Swine City is a feeling too. Like I love how, we talk about QCB. It's in an industrial area. Like the feel of it to me is it feels good when you're in Swine City. You know what I mean? Like the people were super fucking nice to you. We had locals that were sitting at the bar coming over when they saw us doing a podcast. Like, hey man, what do you guys think of the beer? Like it felt like that
Everyone
cheers
cared,
kind of feeling.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That we had at QCB. And then artwork, man. The artwork in there is amazing. Like even in the bathrooms, like I'm just blown away by the nostalgia and like kind of pop culture that they've done in there. Kind of a hip hop feel to some of the names of the songs. I like that a lot.
I actually had a note about that. You spend so much time talking about the artwork in the bathrooms. It made me think, are they better bathrooms than Jungle Jim's bathrooms?
Yeah, they're at a brewery.
Okay.
Hey, Jungle Jim's has beer
And
too. but
just for the
yeah.
record, we still don't know what the artwork in the women's bathroom looks like.
Yeah, we do. We went in there.
Challenge
Oh, okay.
accept-
I
oh.
didn't.
I went in. Me and Bobby went in there. Or Twitty, sorry. Me and Twitty went in there.
Ooh, drink.
Got one.
Everybody drink.
Got one.
Put them
Drink.
up. Put them up.
Put them up, everyone.
No,
I
you
don't
can't
know
put
what
that
to
up. Marco, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness.
It's all empties, man.
Oh my
Come on.
God. So do we need to take a break before we get farther into this for some glasses to be refilled? The very first note that I wrote down about episode 14, you guys being at Swine City, is you have now joined the very exclusive Julia and Josh club of, normally for us, it's not hitting the record button. For you guys, it was your memory card being full, which I have not hit yet. I try to be very good about. Is my battery pack charged? Like when I get home, the first thing I do when I get home is the soundboard that I use runs off a battery pack.
Yeah.
I plug it in to make sure. We never get even halfway through it, but I'm like, I want to make sure there's never any issue to where it just dies in the middle.
We're killing that battery
then-
night. Fuck it. Let's go.
Hey, we still have. Oh, we are actually a little less than half. So you guys are breaking records.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Well, we actually have not hit record.
Yeah.
It's happened on Hustle and Brews a
and
couple
it's one
of times.
those things where
but
you will
the SD
have
card was first.
pronunciations. Oh shit, she's doing it. You guys were perfect on this episode.
Nice.
I
We were
couldn't
on fire.
I couldn't
Yeah.
even do a bad pronunciation count. You guys
We're getting better,
are
dude.
getting so good, except for your pronunciation of Berliner when you first started on our show.
Berliner.
But that was our show, not
But
yours.
you
That was
know,
purposeful. That was
honestly,
purposeful.
honestly, we probably have you guys to thank about to thank for that because you made us conscious of, and it started out as a joke, but then we were kind of like when you start to let that sink in, you're like, I really should be saying
Well,
Hefe Weissen,
and- and-
Hefe
no,
Weissen.
no.
It was tongue in cheek. It was more of a, hey, our podcast is about poking fun at and doing this and that. I don't give a crap how you guys say something. It's about enjoying the beer.
Oh,
Sure.
Period.
We
But it's
sometimes
just funny
purposely
to do
mispronounce
that.
things just to
Just-
entertain you, honestly.
So go ahead, Marky.
Like-
You were gonna say.
No, I mean, exactly right, Julia. I don't care if you pronounce anything the way you want to pronounce it. Now, just know that it's all fair game for us.
Yes.
Sure.
But in the end, It's
doesn't
just
even
it
matter.
doesn't. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you notice we showed up on Tuesday to be a part of the podcast, not sit in the corner and blow spit wads at you through a straw, right?
you.
Like a certain
Yeah.
other
Thank you.
podcast
Thank you.
segment
Yeah.
does.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, thanks,
Them
Brian and Chris.
bastards. They're lying about us.
But what's funny is actually after that note about pronunciations being perfect, I have a never mind, Matt fucked up with a, I don't know if you want to call it a pronunciation.
What was it?
So you're the hip hop guy, correct?
Okay.
Okay. all
He
right.
is.
What did
Okay.
I
We're
fuck
gonna-
up
we're
with
gonna
hip hop?
confirm.
Here we go. Come on.
Uh-oh.
Sir,
Okay.
you said the notorious Big.
Yeah.
Is it
No,
big
no.
or BIG?
If
It's
you
both.
Say, no, if you say notorious, you have to say
Wait,
B-I-G.
Are there dots between the letters?
If you're not using notorious, if you're just using big, then you can say big. But if you're using notorious,
I did-
and I actually did some
I did
internet
pick that
research
up.
on this.
I
I
did,
actually
I
did
did.
some internet research on this.
Yeah.
And again, like everything else, tongue in cheek, you say whatever the fuck you want to say.
I'm
But,
gonna have to look
I
that
will
up
tell
now.
you
but
this.
according to the internet,
If
it is
Matt
a religious
said it,
thing.
I'm
Everything on the
rolling
internet is
with
true.
Matt.
Yes.
Everything
I
on the
think,
internet is
I
true.
don't even know. I couldn't pick this notorious person out in a
Oh,
Don't
lineup.
say that.
You could because
Yeah,
he's
you
very
could.
big.
And he wears this
Biggie, biggie,
red,
biggie. Juicy.
blazer or
Okay,
something. He
fair
stands
enough.
out.
But
Fuck.
Matt,
Let's
nonetheless,
not wear a blazer, man. Get the fuck out of here.
That red
It's
blazer.
archery,
Coochie sweater.
archery.
I
Coochie
am-
sweater.
okay, fair enough. So why don't?
That's crazy. I'm gonna look that up. Hey.
No,
you caught
it's
me.
all cool.
Because
You knew who I was talking about,
I
though.
did. Because I actually went. Oh, that's.
Of
I've
course,
never,
we knew who you were
What was
talking
I-
about.
What beer was I talking about?
Shit, if I know. I just said never mind. Said notorious big instead of BIG. It's either just big without the notorious, or you have
That
to
was
say
me
each
in high
letter.
school, just big.
That- was that a nickname or just an overall descriptor?
No, they just said just big.
That's just what the girls
Damn.
called him.
Yeah, it's just
Damn.
big.
Drop it on the
Damn.
table, son.
Yeah. So,
Oh, the
Outcast
keyboard's
Podcast.
coming out.
Outcast Podcast. Yes, you were at Swine City. We covered that.
Not all of it. I still have
Oh,
a couple
come
of
on,
notes.
let's go.
I still have a
Let's bring
few
it on.
notes.
Julia, I mean,
Hopefully
this place
these
is
will-
closing in 30 minutes.
I know. Hopefully, these will be kind of quick hitting notes that you can address. And then I definitely want to dig into the Outcast podcast and Hustle and Brews. Matt, you said that Swine City Sours got you more into sours than Urban Artifact did.
Yeah.
And
So
is there.
That's actually true for all three.
For all three of you?
Well,
Okay,
three out
okay,
of the four
okay.
of us.
and that's not anything against
No,
Urban
no.
Artifact because we
And you
love
said
their
that,
sours
right,
now.
right.
But like the
But
first
what
time
was
I ever
the differentiator?
probably time and palate. You know what I mean? Like when I first went to Urban Artifact, they only had one beer that wasn't a sour, and I wasn't into sours at all. You know what I mean? At that point, that was 4 years ago or something. But then, and honestly, sours weren't appealing to me up until the point we went to Swine City one time and had a good one. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I
That's
don't know
fair.
if
That's
I mean
fair.
it's like IPAs. I wasn't into IPAs at the beginning. You know what I mean? I'm not really into barrel aged, but I drink that high grain again. You know what I mean? Like my
Sure.
palate shifts. You know what I
Sure,
mean? And maybe
sure.
my tolerance increases with certain flavor profiles as I drink more of those beers. I'm not sure, but
Okay,
that
that's
was
fair.
the first one I was like, whoa, like this
It's
is
a
banging.
sour, and I can drink this, and it's
Oh.
good. Was it the same thing for you, Mark?
Yeah.
We all had the same one. Like, and even Twitty was like, you know, he talks about we're on a mission actually to get Twitty to like IPAs, like because he always talks shit about
Eventually.
IPAs.
Close.
Yeah,
We're
like
getting
you're
close.
Eventually you'll find one.
He's had a couple New England hazies, you know, that are kind of toned down that he's like, but I think you know, palates change. It's
Sure.
It's just like food. You know what I mean? Some foods you don't like for a long time, and then all of a sudden you like them. It's the same with beer, and that was literally the first one where I was like, boom, like this is so dope. I gotta try other ones. You know what I mean?
And I think that's kind of one of our mantras on our podcast too. Is don't give up on a brewery, don't give up on a style, don't stay safe. You know,
Travel on.
You know, I grew up, you know, stealing beer out of my dad's tap, you know, on Hudipole 14K. You know, that's what I knew as beer, right?
I'm signed up for that race this spring, by the way.
I am
Nice.
I am very fond of a good German lager, but I'm also very thankful that I was willing at 19, 20 years old to start trying different styles of beer and exploring what's out there. And yeah,
and that was like 60 years ago.
Well, more like 58, but
Yeah,
You know-
way back in Come On Nakamoto.
I started out as a pale ale guy, and I'm not so much anymore. But I'm now like starting to get back into pale ales, and that's all. A lot of it has to do with beer shares, which
Sure.
we talk about a lot on our podcast.
Yep.
Beer shares are crucial. They're important. Get together with your friends and share beer, because I'll bring 6 to 8 beers. Matt will bring 6 to 8 beers. We'll all show up, and between 4 or 5 of us, we're not drinking.
An
We're
entire
drinking 15
can,
beers,
yeah.
but we're drinking 2 ounces of this,
Well,
2 ounces of that,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Perfect
it gives
example
you.
is the mall,
Yeah.
the barrel aged stout. Because I mean, you would never grab even a single can of that, Matt, on your own.
No, now I will.
But now you were able to give it a chance without feeling like you had to commit to an entire glass of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that ties into kind of the second note that I wanted to bring up before we ended the episode segment, but not your segment, was don't write off beer styles or breweries right away. A brewery might be new and might need time to develop the system that they're brewing on or their recipes. I tend to do, and this is most often but not always, kind of like a 3 strikes. I'll give a brewery, a beer, a style, something like that, at least 3 tries. Maybe I'm just not in the mood for a sour that day and it's actually really good. Or maybe this brewery is only a month old and if I go back, it's okay.
Or you
But
could
if
have
it's- if
had a
it's
bad day at work, and you go to
Sure,
a
and you're just
brewery and
Yeah,
mentally
your
not
mentality,
into
your
it.
psychology
absolutely.
behind.
Which is why it's like I'll give it on average, 3 unless there was something incredibly wrong, like that first or second attempt, I'm going to go back to either the brewery, the style, whatever it may be. But if after like 3 or 4 attempts at the style, the brewery, the whatever, if it's still not hitting, okay, maybe
That's your limit,
just not
3.
right. Well, and not always, because again, depending on the situation, sometimes it might be.
Well, you might find out that they just hired a new brewer, and it's this guy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Right.
and you're like, oh,
Or-
he's there now, and I'll give him some time, because even
3
the
more
best,
tries.
even
Yeah.
the best brewer in the world, you put them in a new environment, they're not
they
going to
could do-
brew their
sure,
best stuff. But if you
sure.
give that brewer time in their system,
And that kind of maybe offends them. I hope not.
I think they're aware that it takes time to establish yourself on a system.
But really, who the fuck am I? In my opinion, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, there's been people that since whatever brewery opened up, they've liked their shit from the beginning.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So really, my opinion doesn't matter. It's just a matter of, are you going to get me back in here trying more beers?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'll keep going.
Marco, because we've been talking over you for like 5
We
minutes
haven't been
now.
talking to He
No,
stopped. He
not
hit
at all.
his limit.
I
He
have
hit
not.
his
he's
limit.
awfully quiet over there.
I have not talked at all, and
Just making sure.
I love the conversation, and I'm just following in saying, yeah. I mean, just new breweries or whatever it is. I mean, just
Give them a second chance, a third
yeah,
chance.
we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with giving new places second chances, third chances, that kind of thing. I'm not going to disagree with that. But what I will say is, depending on your experience, certainly service level
Sure.
has something to do with that. I mean, that has a major part actually
Yeah.
Yeah.
on if you're gonna give them another chance or not. I mean,
Sure.
And that's an excellent
you
point.
belly up to that bar early, and beers aren't necessarily what you wanted. Okay, fair enough. But if the service level was not great or complicated, you may
I agree with that 100%.
put them. You may
Yeah.
put them on, sort of your
Back burner.
Blacklist or whatever.
back burner.
I'd say quicker than the beer.
Oh,
The
yeah.
service would keep me from coming back. I mean, we
went
touched
to-
on that.
Boy, 100%.
We touched on that on the last podcast. They'll remain nameless, but there's a brewery in particular that we all went to. None of us liked it. But
And it was
going
more
back
the
to what you were
service than
saying,
anything
there was a
else.
guy at that brewery that was drinking the Hefeweizen that was just like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest beer!" And just raving about it. And in my opinion, that was out of all the bad beers, that was the worst beer there.
Yeah.
But this guy loved it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
beer is
So subjective.
It's
so subjective,
It's
and-
absolutely subjective.
And-
But what I would again, I mean, your point is true, and the point I'm trying to make is that give it a shot, and you make your own decision. But the velocity or the way you support businesses is going to depend on a lot of different factors. And
Sure. Don't write something off after just one experience.
Well,
exactly.
That's what we touch on that a lot on our podcast.
You do, and
you
that's
know,
awesome.
because
don't do that. I mean, if your first experience is your first experience, and then please give everyone another go.
yeah. Well, and that's. I mean, I talk about it on the podcast. Like it goes even deeper than that, because like if you were to ask me what's your favorite brewery in town, I'd have to like say, well, what do you mean?
There be qualifiers
There's a
for it.
huge
Right,
difference
right.
between like my favorite brewery isn't necessarily my favorite beer.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Because there's
yeah,
so much
yeah.
more to a brewery experience than just the beer. There's
Agreed,
the
agreed.
service, the people, how engaged that, like I really love nano pubs. I love going into a place where you're actually spending time with the owner.
Right,
Where
right, I
you
agree.
get to know the people behind the brewery, and I'm not taking
Or the
anything.
bottle shop is in BC's. I mean, this is a perfect
Yeah,
example.
you walk
of
in and
that, yeah.
they know you by name. You walk in, they say, "Hey, Mark Miller, what do you want?" That's
Right.
beautiful. It's the whole Cheers thing.
Agreed.
There's something special about that, and there's just so much to it, and
Yeah.
there's so many aspects to
Yeah.
what makes a brewery great and what makes beer great. And we were talking about you can have the same beer under two different conditions,
and it'll be completely different.
completely
Agreed.
different.
And I
Yeah.
don't want to kind of cut off the conversation, but we do only have a little less than 20 minutes before Kenny kicks
This is
us
the
out of here.
longest Truth, Beer, and Consequences
Yes,
ever. dude.
we're about to run out the
So you
memory
got-
card.
You guys
So
brought
the
on
last-
two fucking talkers.
So
like it's over.
and we knew that going in. So we were prepared to be here until Kenny kicks us out. But I want to make sure that before he kicks us out, and I can properly, we can properly close the podcast down, that you guys have your opportunity. The last note that I have for episode 14 of the Outcast Podcast, where you guys went to Swine City, had a phenomenal time, talked more about the art in the bathroom than the beer.
That just tells you how great that
great
place
the
is.
bathroom, the art in the bathroom is. So you cheered with empty glasses. We heard it.
Yeah, it happens.
You tried to play the outro music over top of that. No, they didn't hear it. It's all cool. We know. So we need to make sure that before we close out Truth, Beer, and Consequences, our glasses are not empty, which we're doing okay, but we cannot drink anymore.
I'll slow down
So-
just for
Yeah.
you.
But
Thank you.
Okay, that was Outcast Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We have the host of
Hustle and Brews.
Hustle and
Yeah.
Brews here. Please just let our listeners know what Hustle and Brews is as a podcast.
Hustle and Brews is me sitting down with local,
And that me is Matt Damaris, just in
Matt
case you haven't
Damaris,
figured out the voice.
Cincy Brewers Traveler, sitting down with local entrepreneurs talking about the come up and starting a business. Like, it's essentially, I started this podcast as a way to create content for my kids to listen to learn the hustler perspective on what it takes to start your own business, because I'm very, I'm a hustler myself.
I'm sorry, Mark.
He is a
Hustler, baby.
Love it.
I'm not a pusher like Mark
With
Miller.
4-part harmony.
But I mean, it's a way for them to get knowledge, and just to. I think these are important lessons. When you listen to you hear stories of people that blew up and they're making trillions of dollars, but there's so many stories of local people who just stepped over the edge and took that chance and made a life for them that became really like a intricate part of the community. You know what I mean? Those are the people that. Those stories inspire me. You know what I mean?
And they can inspire other people to just like get over their fears and just do it.
do it.
Because
And it lets you
we
know
all
that
have
you can do it as well. You don't have to think of yourself as a multi-million-dollar like entrepreneur or something like that. You can be a local hustler and like do your thing and create a great living for yourself. But it's a mindset. It's a drive.
dedication,
It's a certain amount of moxie that just some people have it that others don't, and I'm really intrigued by that. So when I sit down with those people, as a hustler myself, I'm inspired to hear those stories. You know what I mean? Like it gets me, like literally, it gets me fired up. Like I like listening to people and talking to people that make me feel lazy.
If you want somebody to listen to one or two, what one or two would you say, hey, go listen to that and see if you like my show?
Like as far as specific episodes?
Yes,
Oh, man, that's
exactly.
tough.
I'm not involved with Hustle and Brews, but as
A listener.
as a listener,
Love
I would
this.
say
I love
the
this.
cannoli episode is definitely one of the most inspirational.
That's a good one, man.
I mean,
I would say-
there's
I was tearing up
Mark,
crying during that episode.
Yeah.
Mark, yes.
The other one, the most downloaded episode I've ever had from as soon as I released it was Emmett Ridge Farm with Jeremy Boswell.
Jeremy
Nice.
is amazing.
Yeah,
And
that
I would
dude,
throw out the interview with Corporate as well as one of my favorite
Yeah.
episodes. So
Yeah.
you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
Facebook
For
page.
sure.
Look up
Corporate.
Hustle and Brews.
Instagram. I think there's one too. Yeah.
I'm going to shout out the Michael from Medina.
That was good too.
Mm-hmm.
They're all great episodes.
For
I mean,
me,
hands
because
down.
I'm in the industry, I love that episode.
Yeah.
Because I'm personally
I learned a ton
connected.
about distributing too. You know, they're
I'm-
crazy to
you-
me. Like I think
and-
that's awesome.
And Mark, I do apologize not to cut you off, but we are running out of time quickly here at our time at BC's Bottle Lodge,
3
Montgomery.
hours.
We
So-
are damn good at running out of
We're amazing. This
storage
has been,
space.
This has been absolutely amazing. The conversations you guys have brought on, all of the podcasts that we've covered have been wonderful. So for Hustle and Brews, Matt Damaris, his podcast, Hustle and Brews on Facebook, Instagram,
Yep.
and
That's
and
it.
just look up Hustle and Brews on any of your podcast catchers.
Hustleandbrews.com.
There
Yep.
you go.
And the other thing,
Outcast Podcast.
I'd like to add that Outcast Podcast is a podcast, but we also have a Facebook group.
Yep. Yep.
Similar to like 513 and
Brews Travelers,
and,
yep.
and
Yep.
it's a Brews Travelers Outcast podcast, and it's much more just based on information. Like I'm big on like
I have
finding
found out more events that have been happening from the Outcast Podcast Facebook group than I have anywhere else.
Pretty
It's
much all I do. I want to just.
appreciate
It's
that.
more about sharing the information. It's not about doing beer chugs, and nothing against it. I'm not
Sure.
knocking that. But
It's more
there's
informational
Facebook groups that
events.
are all about their beer chugs, and that's great. But ours is more about just getting information. One of the things I'm big on is like taking a picture of a tap list, because
Right.
it amazes me how many breweries don't do enough of that. Like
Paradise does it.
Yeah.
Paradise does it, and
Yeah.
I make a point of
There you
every
go.
time they post what's on their tap list, I share it because
right.
so it's a more informative site. So
And it's great. So look up Outcast Podcast on the Facebooks. Hustle and I think on podcast catchers, if you look up the Brews Travelers Outcast Podcast is how you find Outcast Podcast. Sometimes just Outcast
It's on,
Podcast.
and
pulls
it's
up a
on
couple
pretty
other
much
things.
all of the formats.
It's on all
most
of the
them.
formats. Mark and Matt, thank you so incredibly much for being here
It's
tonight.
an honor and a pleasure.
This has been amazing.
Awesome.
Longest episode ever.
It's all good.
We could
It
have
is
talked
all good.
for a long time.
Yeah, we,
We
might
really
have
could.
to do
We
a second
really
3-hour
could.
episode.
So
Could be.
we're raising our non-empty glasses.
Not empty glasses.
So
Cheers.
Not
let's-
anymore.
You're
we're gonna
welcome, Marco.
cheers.
And we're gonna
To
shut
be here?
this damn
Shut this place down?
Hell
So-
I'm
yeah.
gonna beatbox.
So as
Mm-hmm.
we typically tend to end our episodes, Marco, next Tuesday, what are you going to be doing?
I know what I'll be doing, Julia. How do all of our listeners
Find us. You're
find
better
us,
at this than I
follow
am.
us, and how do they support us?
You can find us at Truth Beer Pod on all the social medias, and you can also go to truthbeerpod.com to donate a pint to the Truth Beer Pod podcast.
Do it, and Julia,
Marco,
let's listen to the pause, and I'll see you Tuesday.
I will see you on Tuesday to do this again. Thank you guys so much.
Love it.
Have a happy fucking New Year.
Happy New Year.
Go Bearcats.
As always, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Truth, Beer, and Podsequences. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe or follow us on your favorite podcatcher. Shout us out on social media. We are at Truth Beer Pod everywhere. And if you want to be a sponsor of the show and buy us a pint or even contribute to us getting some new headsets, microphones, what have you, please go to truthbeerpod.com and click on the support our show link. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.